Knowledge Packed Day at our HR Conclave, Stories of Resilience. I am Pranati Shukla and I am delighted to welcome you all for this special occasion. Today, we have assembled here to listen to some fascinating stories of hard work, determination, grit and strategy that enabled organizations to overcome humongous challenges. The key word for today's conference is resilience. We are going to hear 24 stories of resilience from our esteemed guest speakers through different sessions. But before moving further, I would like to invite our keynote speaker for the day, Lieutenant General Sukhdeep Sangwan, Director General Dr. S.K. Mahapatra, and Dean Dr. Richa Dahiya for lamp lighting. Facilitating them is Brigadier Dr. Ajay Mehta.
चेयर लगवाएं और
प्रियंका प्रियंका
प्रियंका शरीन
सामने मत खड़े रहना अभी तो
हार्डली बोलूंगा चेयर्स कम बढ़ गई
क्या कर रहा है तू
सुन अंशिका चेयर्स कम बढ़ रही है क्या बोला था मैं
Now I would request you all to kindly stand up for the Saraswati Vandana and kindly put your phones on silent.
Sorry, take the name.
of HR, where we'll have the privilege of learning from industry experts. Request our DG, Professor
most esteemed Madam, to read out the date. Helpful immediately, it may be helpful immediately, but in long term, each and every story is valuable to us, and each and every story is going to resonate in our mind, is going to help us in our life. So thank you very much again for coming. Welcome address is a very customary address where, and today's topic is basically resilience. The stories of Pranati very rightly put it, and I think around a clap for Pranati. Okay, I think she put it very well. So resilience is something we normally don't talk about. We think it's my hai kya. All of us are resilient people. That is because we have always seen normal times, normal turbulence, normal challenges. At an individual level, at a community level, at a national level, and at a global level, we had never seen a challenge, a common challenge. And 4 years back, when the pandemic happened, all the four came into place simultaneously. And thereafter, the whole world is getting rejigged, reorganized. Individuals, people, managers, they are also getting rejigged and reorganized. Everything, nothing is untouched. We are living in the post-pandemic world. Those who thought that we can still manage our lives, manage our companies, manage the business in a as usual manner after the pandemic gets away, it did not happen. You might have heard of job losses, but you have not heard of the jobs created. And I was reading some statistics which said that per a job that is lost because of this turbulence, 1.5 jobs have been created because of this turbulence. So there is a net job increase. Only thing is, where it is lost, the job is not creating there. Job is getting created somewhere else. What does it mean? Maybe I was an MBA student at a particular point of time, but by the time I complete MBA, the profile has changed. So how do I meet this challenge? There is only one way. That is, if I have a mindset which is open to receive to ideas, like we have so many distinguished professionals sitting here and they are going to share. It is just, you will see, it is just open mindset. With openness, they accepted the challenge, they found ways how to deal with that, and they have overcome that. So that what we call agility or flexibility in our mind, that was in full play, or that has been in full play at individual level, at community level, at organization level, at national level also, right? At international level also. That is in full play. So this is the world we live in. Resilience is the key to our future success. That's what we thought of. That's why this conclave we have convened, and I am actually I'm the least competent, because to speak about the entire gamut of issues that have come up, because I am managing a small world. But when we listen to 25 stories from different worlds, you have the entire universe in front of you as a canvas. That is the benefit, that is the power of these kind of conclaves. I welcome you heartily once again with my deep sense of gratitude for each one of you for coming here, giving your time. On Saturday, you could have otherwise enjoyed the Saturday. Like our students know best how to enjoy off time. Okay, they could have done that, but they thought they will come here because they are also lifelong learners. They would also like to hear the story of their friend. Okay, age doesn't matter, time doesn't matter. What matters is new learnings. From somewhere I will pick up something. and that is going to help me somewhere, right? So have an open mind. The more you give, you get back multifold. Remember, whether in terms of thoughts, ideas, action, whatever it is. The more you give, you will get back manifold. So with this, I once again welcome you all. Special word of welcome to General Sangwan. As you can see from his personality, very humble, very down to earth, normal perception of people about, uniformed services, people holding such high ranks, would be something very kadak, right? That kind of, but do you see that in him? No. Very warm, very affable. Affable because of a particular nature he has nurtured. He is a poet and he is an author. He has written books which have been published and many more on the way. He is a man of people, normally been with people. And not many people, it's possible for us to identify who can actually relate with our domain of HR. So he's one person. I thought the first time I spoke to him, we connected very well. And I thought that probably General Sahab will be the ideal. If he agrees to spare some time for us, it will be very ideal to have him as our privileged keynote speaker. So General Sahab, many thanks to you. And there is an intro about him which Pranati will give you in a while. And I think I must rest my speech here. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind and enlightening words. Before I call upon General Sangwan to deliver the keynote address, I would like to say a few words about him. Lieutenant General Sukhdeep Sangwan is a distinguished soldier whose celebrated career spanning 4 decades has been marked by exceptional service and accolades. Throughout his distinguished military career, General Sangwan has been recognized for his outstanding contributions to our nation. He has been twice awarded the prestigious presidential medals for distinguished service, the Param Vishisht Seva Medal and the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal. Additionally, he has received the Sena Medal twice and a commendation card showcasing his unwavering commitment and dedication to his duties. Beyond his remarkable military achievements, General Sangwan is a versatile individual with a passion for literature. He has authored a book titled Integrated Force Projection by India and contributed to another work on comprehensive national power. In 2021, his book titled Random Thoughts was released. Currently, General Sangwan serves as a visiting faculty at one of the esteemed Indian Institute of Management. His knowledge and experience have made him a sought-after speaker, and he has delivered numerous lectures and talks on a wide range of topics from border management to building and sustaining corporate things, image, VUCA world, and leadership. He has graced prestigious institutions such as IS Academy, Labasna, various IIMs, NTPC, IBMS, ICFAI, Yantra India Limited, and Army institutions with his insightful presentations. We are truly fortunate to have General Sangwan here with us today. May I request General Sangwan to kindly deliver the keynote address.
Jai Hind and good morning, everybody. No, if this is the Jai Hind, then there's something wrong, because with Jai Hind, early morning, this hall should resonate and the entire JKBS campus should reverberate with your Jai Hind. I'll say again, Jai Hind, everybody. Jai Hind. That sets the stage for the day. Because if you speak that way, that means I am very convinced that you all are ready to receive what we are going to speak. Because if you're not ready to receive, there's no point for us to speak. At the outset, allow me this privilege of thanking Dr. Mahapatra, the DG, for inviting me over here. It was a bolt from the blue. It was a surprise for me to be invited all of a sudden for a keynote address when he told me that I have to come and deliver a keynote address. I was thrilled, mighty thrilled, for two reasons. First, he wanted me to do something which is hitherto is the forte of only the women folk, to deliver. And now when I was to prepare and come here deliver, I realized it's not an easy job. It's hell of a job to prepare and come and deliver in front of people who nurture fetus of thought, whose youthful age, who are living their daily life with flights of imagination, who are the one who are on the cusp of transition into the digital and digitized world. What will I speak with? Thankfully, I've got my cap on with no hair left on my head. What will I speak before you all? So it was a challenge. It was a challenge for me, yet I accepted it. And I'm grateful that I'm here because of the JKBS. And I'll go back with rich memories, I have no doubt in that. I'll be flashing few slides. I'll take you through the slides. Because the subject, no, it's not working. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay now, it's working. And I also happy, second reason was that I was to speak on a subject which is close to my heart. 4 decades, any army officer, any army jawan, any army soldier, this is what we do. Resilience, we are tested, our resilience is tested day in and day out. Thank you, sir, thank you. And to be standing before the youth to talk on resilience through the prism of defense forces was a very happy thought for me. And while you all know what resilience is, and while you are expecting that I'll narrate some stories on the defense forces or the army or the paramilitary forces, that may not be true, because that is something which we'll share subsequently over a cup of tea also. But here I would like to share something more with you, something which we in defense forces also try and imbibe from the various elements of the society that makes us resilient, every day. But when we have to sail through this, when we have to travel through this, just to take everybody on board, what resilience actually is. Let's be on the same platform. It's basically power to keep going. It is that power which keeps us going. And what is that power? What is resilience? It gives you that strength to power through the storm. Mind you, power through the storm and still keep the sails steady. We can power through the storm. Tomorrow you are in an organization, in an establishment, in an entity, even if it's a unicorn. You may be able to sail through. You may be able to get out of that entity and go and pick up a better job. But if that ship is sunk, that means you're not resilient. If your organization was sunk, that means you're not resilient. Because corporate is what? Corporate is basically teamwork, it's team building. So you have to be resilient. And how do you do that? For doing that, for being resilient, you have to ensure that first of all, you got to shed your fear. That fear of failure has to be shed, that fear of being unsuccessful, that fear of the public, your family, your colleagues, your society telling you, "Ye kya kar diya?" That has to be shed. You have to be convinced. You have to realign your thoughts. You have to bounce back, you have to fight back, you have to realign your thoughts. And realign your thoughts for what? To surmount that challenge. That challenge has to be surmounted. And that is what resilience is. Such a simple thing. And it's not that we have not seen. When we see this resilient society around us, we only tend to ignore it. If we don't ignore it, we'll learn a lot. So I will take you through certain stories of resilient India. I am a big propounder of taking examples from India and not examples from the Western world alone. There are enough examples. But let's look inwards. Let's look into the examples of our own country, where we have seen the resilience. Why are we called as a resilient nation? We may not be the best as far as a resilient nation is concerned, the index is concerned. But we are a resilient nation and we are a great society. We are a resilient society. You go to foreign country, after 15 days you come back and say, "Nahi yaar, jaisa bhi hai, apna hi theek hai. Jo bhi hota hai, we are happy in our country only." Why? Because there is an acceptance here. So that is the resilience. And why? Why do I say this? I'll take you back to certain examples of resilience. We are just riding on the success of Chandrayaan. We are happy we got a flag flying at moon now. But go back to 1963. Those of you who have read science or those of you who are fond of general knowledge, it was in 1963 that Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, he established the first rocket station at Tumba. Do you know how it was established? There's hardly anything. The rockets, the Rohini which was launched, the rockets were moved, parts were moved on the cycles and bullock carts. That is resilience. They were moved on this kind of a thing. There was no place, there was no land, there was no space for them to establish a center. And you know who were there? Dr. Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, and I would say, dare I say now, above all, Abdul Kalam Azad. So they were the ones, they proved that we have resilient scientists who with zero kind of infrastructure can establish a rocket station. And I have highlighted that word resilient society. Why do I say resilient society? You'll be surprised how it was established. They identified this place because, why? Some people will ask why Tumba was chosen when there was no establishment, there was nothing there. That is the place where equatorial magnet was there. That's the magnetism. There's a field of magnetism is there. So that is the reason this was selected. And what was there? Lower there, where the church staff was there. So imagine Dr. Abdul Kalam and Vikram Sarabhai, they went and interacted with the bishop there, what we popularly called as the father. They went and requested him, can you accommodate us in this church or houses around, because we got to establish our rocket station of India. And he said, this society around here is Christians. They revere our religious sentiments. So can you come and attend the Sunday Mass? And he called them over to the Sunday Mass. They went there. He narrated the entire thing. And on the Sunday Mass, the end statement was that since they have come here to do something for our great nation, to establish a rocket station, we offer them this church building. We offer them this church building, and he offered his own quarters. And he also offered them land, 600 acres of land from the fishermen. Imagine a Muslim, Abdul Kalam Azad, asking Christians to give land for a country which is establishing, a country which is dominated by Hindus, to establish their rocket. That is a resilient society. That is India we live in. That is a story of resilience. And today we have Vikram Sarabhai Center, and you know what exactly we've achieved. Year after year we are achieving. Not an issue. The next example I'll give you. Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad, Abdul Kalam himself. You see, when our missile program was coming up, the rest of the world, who were already missile giants, they came out with a bright, and one more thing I'll miss out. This center was established when we were just into 16 years into our independence. 16 years into independence, and we established the rocket station with zero facilities. That was the resilience. And now Dr. Abdul Kalam, when we were denied components, crucial components of missiles because of the MTCR, those of you who have read MTCR, Missile Technology Control Regime, we were denied the parts. We couldn't import them. And he decided that we will make missiles indigenously. And every part which was to be imported was thereafter manufactured in 1980s in India, our own India. And we today have surface to air, surface to surface, underground. Every kind of missile, whether it is BrahMos, Agni, Prithvi, Nag, every missile is being made here. That is the resilience of our scientists. That is resilient India. This is a story you must read as corporate students. Read the story of the Metro Man of India. How did he establish the metro network in the country? What did he have? The land had not been acquired when the metro network started in Delhi. He had the backing of the central and the state government. He had the backing of himself. He had the self-belief in him. I hope you know who is the Metro Man of India. I hope. Sridharan. So not only Delhi, now rest of the country, all metros today proudly boast of metro networks. This is the resilience. Doesn't matter, we don't have the metro engines. Doesn't matter, we don't have the bogies. We'll import them. But we will have our own metro network in the country today. And most of all, the challenge was to transform that society which is used to sitting in the buses and smoking beedis and cigarettes. How to tell them not to spit in the metro, not to light the cigarettes in the metro. How to adopt this change, the change management which you read. That was done. That is resilient India. That is resilience. That is what you have to see. Not very many will proudly say and boast of that we are the only country in the world which has wiped out one of the most notorious insurgencies, and coupled with that the militancy. They are two different things. In Punjab, because the resilience of two gentlemen, J.F. Ribeiro and K.P.S. Gill, they came on. We were almost on the verge of losing the grain bowl of India. Khalistan started looking like a reality to happen. Pakistan had pumped in everything which they had in their hand and minds. And these two gentlemen, they came and they promised to the government and to the nation that we will ensure that the militancy is wiped out, the insurgency is wiped out. And all those things which we don't have time, how it was done, why it was done, and then a nexus or an understanding was established with Indian Army and the police. And today, Punjab is back. It is not, I would say, not trotting back, it is galloping. Nobody can say that few years back Punjab was in that state. You would not even, some of you were not even born, I think. We have seen that Punjab. So that is the resilience of our police. That is the resilience of our society. That is the resilience of our farmers who could fight back. That is resilience. Now let's gravitate into the defense forces. Our resilience, our patience, our calmness, our national character was being tested by Pakistan. It was being tested by Pakistan in 1947-48. They attacked us. We are just recovering from the shocks of partition. We threw them out. We launched our battalion by air and we threw them out from Srinagar. They tried it again in 1965. While we were wanting to focus towards the development, we were wanting to focus towards green revolution, white revolution, we were wanting to focus towards IITs, IIMs, it was dragging us back and it didn't budge. It got a lesson from us in 1965 and yet raised its head again in 1971. So what is resilience? It's basically to surmount the challenge, and this is the time now to surmount the challenge called as Pakistan. And there was a gentleman called Manekshaw. We dictated, we means the military dictated to the political government that this is the time we want to go, this is the area we want to go, and this is how we will go. And that go-ahead was given. And not only did we prove that Indian military is resilient, Indian nation is resilient, we divided Pakistan into two halves. भूगोल बदल के रख दिया हमने, बांग्लादेश नक्शे पे रच दिया. That is resilience. That is bouncing back. And since then, it is only you keep bleeding us through 1,000 cuts. In the bargain, we are reaching moon and you yourself are bleeding. This is our resilience. Similarly, the stories are far too many. I had brought in some videos and unfortunately it's not working. What happens in China, on Chinese border? Most of my service has been on the line of actual control, LAC along China. Chinese keep coming, they keep trying and asserting themselves at various places. We are resilient, our soldiers are resilient. And just to tell them and show them their place, we deliberately started putting our lieutenants in front of them. That you come with your force, our lieutenants are good enough to take care of you. You will not be allowed a single inch to step in Sikkim or Arunachal. We didn't allow that. Those lieutenants, they handled them. They pushed them back. Military diplomacy. We calm them down, cool them down to the extent that while they insist, when we have something like, we are okay for time, I hope. We have something called as a border meeting, just to share with you. On the border meeting, what happens, everything which happens there in military diplomacy has to be cleared at the highest level. And the highest level, when I say, in our case, it is the Military Operations Directorate, that is the Army Headquarters, and the MEA. These borders are managed by MEA. And I hope you know, take back this also for whatever worth. Who is responsible for managing the Indian borders? Which ministry? Which ministry? Anyone? Ministry of Home Affairs. And you ignore them, you discount them, nobody questions them. It's only Indian Army is questioned or Ministry of Defense is questioned. The borders is the responsibility of Ministry of Home. Okay, border management entails three things, friends. One is border guarding, then is border defense, and third is border management. What Army does is number two, border defense. What Home Ministry has to do is border guarding. That is where we have Assam Rifles, we have ITBP, we have BSF, CRPF. So that is what it is. So what I was narrating to you is we do what we want to do. That is the resilience we show, that let's do what we want to do. They want to be served cakes and biscuits when they interact with us on tea. And we decided to serve them churma and jalebi. And we succeeded in doing that. And I proudly say today they come and eat churma and jalebi served by us, because he said you'll have to eat what we eat and not what you want. So that is resilient India. That is the military diplomacy. That is what we do. And not only that, we have now started, we have reached a stage wherein whenever the commander changes, they request, if there is a change, they request, please start serving back those jalebis only. And I'm from Haryana, we are sitting in Haryana. I proudly say those Haryanas are those of you who eaten these jalebis of Gohana, those thick ones, those are the jalebis which we serve them. I said that is the kind of resilience you have to show in the face of the enemy. That is the resilience. Just to narrate a personal story with you, a story of militancy. We were in J&K and we were basically looking for a terrorist leader who had been away for almost 2 years. He had evaded the Indian Army, the unit before us could not apprehend. So we set a target for ourselves that within 6 months we ought to get this character. And we put some young officers on the task. And one day we had a source who came back and told us, sir, I confirm that militant will be coming to his house. They call it a dhok and he will be in a dhok. Dhok is a small little hut in the jungles. So we went, we treaded. It was a 8 hours journey up and down. We spent 48 hours of ambush there waiting for him. It was raining also that day and this gentleman didn't come. We came back. We came back again, 8-9 hours, walked back after 3 days of operations, and now this source came back again. He says, sir, he will come now tomorrow. Definitely he is coming. Now comes the resilience and the decision making and the endurance. All terms which you can put in your management were tested at that moment. The leadership, the decision making, everything. So we decided now if he is taking us back now, maybe he is luring us, trapping us, he may be a double agent. So decision was, let it be, doesn't matter. We couldn't catch him 2 years, let him go now also. And then the leadership issue came in because I was officiating commanding officer that time. The decision was, if I don't go now, my commanding officer was on leave, I was the second in command. Something came in my mind that my subordinates, they will think, कि I have cowed down, I have chickened out. कि अब थक गए हैं, तो ऐसी साहब अब नहीं जा सकते हैं, so let's drop this idea. On my mind was playing that now with this tired lot of 20 people who have been awake for last 72 hours, should I go back? And if we are ambushed and if we lose lives, what will happen? But we had to surmount certain challenges and this decision making itself was a challenge. Anyway, I took a decision, we will go, but this time we will not go on the route which he had told us. We will take a longer route which was almost 12 hours of walk. It's difficult to motivate people who are already tired, who want to go back a shorter route now to take them 12 hours. We went back 12 hours. And I proudly say, we got that chap, and that is the cleanest operation of my service, wherein we knocked down a terrorist with a single bullet. And that single bullet was by one officer who later on became my Colonel MS. That single bullet was bang here like we do tilak. So that is the kind of resilience which we say. If you are resilient, we had targeted 6 months, we got him in 3 months, but those 3 months were hectic. They tested our patience, they tested our resolve, but we ultimately succeeded because we were to take, he was a challenge for us. We were to surmount the challenge. And after him, that whole area, I will name it here, that is known as Buddhal and Mahor area, Rajouri. Sir would know it. There's no militancy, no insurgency because he was the main kingpin there. And we neutralized that area. So that is the kind of thing. What you see on the slide now is the Indian Blade Runner, another story of a military resilience. Kargil War, this gentleman, Major D.P. Singh, he lost his foot in enemy shelling. In the enemy shelling, he lost his foot and he was presumably declared dead. Not declared, I would say. He was presumed to be dead when he was taken to the hospital. Other casualties were being taken care and he was profusely bleeding. And people thought he is in any case dead, so let's attend to those who are likely to survive. Dead ko to theek hai, he is dead. And suddenly he moved. And thereafter he was taken care, he was evacuated. His leg was amputed. He was asked, because you have to sign a consent form for operations. He said, sir, why one? Even if you want both my legs to be removed, remove them, but send me back on the front. I'll go there, I'm still capable of doing it. So this leg was removed. And he had to be boarded out. He came out. And after coming back, he adopted this blade running. Today, he is the world famous blade runner. Not only does he run himself, all those amputees who are volunteers, he runs with them. And this is what he does. And after having run in the normal terrain, he now goes and runs in high altitude areas where oxygen contents are low. It's a rare medium as far as air is concerned. He runs there. And now he's decided to take on the motorcycle rally also. All in the mountains. That is resilience. He says, you can't put me down. I'm a soldier. I'll continue to do soldiery in those areas and motivate our soldiers. Just a small clip. Just listen to him what he has for you. Just a small message. We'll just run it. Can you just press it? No. You'll have to press the... He just leaves some message for you. And that message is same what I told you in the beginning also. Shed your fears. If you shed your fears, you will bounce back. If you can bounce back, sky is the limit.
Commissioned in 97 December and 15th of July 99 I got injured. To me, it was never that something wrong has happened with me. If I wish to be independent, then I have to, do a lot of activities which is actually out of my comfort zone.
You see, in army we have a saying that if you prepare for war...
So being a Fauji, it was always at back of my mind that how do I run?
When you prepare for war, you think all options which the enemy is likely to take. You feel he may come and attack us from here, he may come and attack us from here, 3, 4, 5 directions. But be rest assured, it is the 5th one. If you've chosen 4, it is the 5th one which he will take. So I never thought at the last moment this video clip will not work here. Otherwise I would have noted down what he wanted to convey. Nothing great, but basically that don't have fear. Fear is the biggest enemy. You will be resilient if you shed fear. And second thing I would like to mention to you is invest in social capital. When you invest in social capital, they are the ones. What is corporate? What is management? It's a social capital. It's a team building. It's a team activity. If you have a good social capital where you can fall back on those people during the emergency, during the crisis moment, yeah, you can play it here only instead of going full screen. Yeah, lucky. No, he's clicked on the, I think he's gone on the net. Not on the net, it's on the slide, only extract, not this one. Anyway, it comes through good enough. I'll leave this presentation here in your own times. You can see we'll not upset the whole time schedule. Yeah, this one, that one. No, okay, leave it. So social capital is something where you have to work on because that is the social capital which will see you through when you fall back on those kind of students or colleagues or your people who are working with you, once you fall, please stop it. It's not relevant now. Just stop it. So that will add to your capability of handling your resilience. As far as the theoretical aspects of resilience are concerned, I will not like to delve or venture into it. It will be naive on my part, with the faculty sitting here, with the having mastery on the subject of management, and resilience constitutes one of them. I will not venture into that. I'll leave that. So I'll just conclude by sharing with you my personal example of resilience, and not to glorify myself, but to tell you the heavens don't fall, the life does not end if you have determination, and if you have a social capital, not necessarily your friends, but somebody who can hold your hand. I was just 2.5 years into my service career. I was a young captain and I suffered a spinal injury. And I was bedridden. I'll cut it short. I was not only bedridden, I was in wheelchair with my right leg paralytic. And I was a short service commissioned officer. That means after 5 years, there's no way that I could continue. I would have been thrown out. So it was all dark before me. Started preparing for HCS, IAS examinations, and having lost all interest in life. And I had a doctor, my surgeon, God bless his soul, Colonel Mundkur. He was a lieutenant colonel that time. He used to come every day. 6 months I was in hospital. Every day he would come. And he told me, he says, you are a challenge for me, youngster. Young officers, we call them as youngster. He says, Captain Sahab, you are a challenge for me. I am an orthopedic surgeon. Firstly, I have decided not to operate you. Because I operate you on a spine at 24 years of age, your whole life is gone. Second is, I want to treat you and put you back in shape. One, I want to see you walking on your this thing. You have to be with me. Don't lose heart. You will never think of leaving army. He motivated me. And every day, I remember on Diwali as well as Holi, these two festivals came in during those 6 months. He had almost half an hour with me that I want to celebrate the festival with you. That is the social capital, I would say, on which I was banking on. And after 4 years, 3 years, I became Shape 1. I became Shape 1 and I got my regular commission. And I rang him up. He says, whenever you do anything now, don't be, they use a word called Fanne Khan. Don't be Fanne Khan. Ki ab theek ho gaye hain, but spine injury is not easy to cure that fast. He said, whatever you do, ask me before doing it. And then I told him, I said, sir, now is the time, volunteers are being asked for Siachen Glacier. Can I volunteer? He says, are you sure? I said, yes, sir, I'm sure. He says, go there, but don't show that bravado. Don't outsmart your own capabilities. But by all means, opt. I opted for Siachen Glacier. And I went there, I served there. And after that, there was never a looking back. And he told me, he says, now that you have served in the most difficult area, you will never stop in your life. And by God's grace, I reached the highest rank which we aspire to reach. Because not everybody can become general, he would know. So I reached this rank. And I remembered and always used to speak to him. Say, it was you who made me believe in myself, my capabilities. It was you who told me that you can surmount the challenges. It was you who told me that if you are resilient yourself, the world is with you. Wherever I went, my unit was with me. They never allowed me to do something wherein I could again sink back. And they carried me through. And here I am before you. All these things we would have carried on, but time doesn't permit. I leave it with you all. Thank you very much. Nice interacting with you all. Grateful. Thanks.
I thank General Sangwan for delivering the keynote address. And now I would request our DG, Dr. S.K. Mahapatra, to present the memento. I would now like to request our Dean, Dr. Richa Dhaya, to give vote of thanks.
Good morning to one and all. It's often said that gratitude is the attitude that takes you to your altitude. Allow me to begin by thanking our keynote speaker of the day, Honorable Lieutenant General Sukhdeep Sangwanji, for accepting to grace this occasion with his presence. Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful keynote address. It said a man's mind stretched by new ideas may never return to its original dimensions. The same way we feel when we hear a person of your stature, which counts to knowledge equivalent to dozens of books. Thank you so much once again. Furthermore, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our distinguished speakers and panelists who agreed to grace this event with their profound knowledge and expertise. Your valuable insights would be instrumental in making this conclave a remarkable success. Your willingness to share your experiences and wisdom with us will undoubtedly enrich our understanding of ever-evolving field of human resources. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the organizing committee members who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure the seamless execution of this event. Dr. Sabha Jafri, our faculty convener of this event, our anchor Pranati Shukla, DMRC team members Pratiksha, Yatin, Shaurya, and all our volunteers who were attached with each of the corporate speakers, our staff members, faculty members, technical support team, although there were some glitches, but yet we hope the event should go on well. Indeed, each and every one of you, I owe a big thank to all of you. Finally, I cannot miss on a special name Dr. S.K. Mahapatra, our Director General, for his guidance and support. Your dedication and attention to detail have been commendable. Last but not the least, I owe a big thanks to Dr. Runa Mehta for her unwavering support. Once again, I thank you all for being part of this HR conclave. We look forward to seeing you in future events, and we hope that the insights gained here will continue to shape the future of HR practices. Thank you all once again.
Now, kindly bear with us for 2 minutes before we start our first plenary session. Just a few minutes more. Now we'll start our first plenary session, and allow me to introduce the guests and invite them on the dais. Mr. Dayanand Tripathi, currently serving as a group head for talent acquisition and talent management at RJ Corp, is an experienced HR professional with 18 years of expertise in business HR, HR analytics, and culture engineering. I request you, sir, to kindly take your seat on the dais. Ms. Gayatri Sharma, Director at Fair Portal, is an accomplished HR professional with extensive experience in telecom, ITES, and BPO industries. She specializes in learning and development, contributing to organizational success to effective HR practices and learning initiatives. I request you, ma'am, to kindly take your seat on the dais. Mr. Amit Kataria, Chief HR Officer at Minfi, is a distinguished global HR expert with 2 decades of international IT experience. He excels in innovative talent acquisition and fosters a culture of joy and accountability. I request you, sir, to kindly take your seat on the dais. Ms. Ruchi Mago, Chief HR and Employee Experience Officer at Orange Business Services, is a highly experienced HR leader with a strong focus on talent management, digital transformation, and creating a positive impact on employee experiences and business outcomes. I request you, ma'am, to kindly take your seat on the dais. Mr. Ashish Garg, Talent Acquisition Leader at Optum, is a certified HR professional with expertise in global HR transformation, talent management, and predictive talent data analytics. I request you, sir, to kindly take your seat on the dais. Dr. Roona Maitra, the founder and director of People Talent International, and has served as a trusted business and HR consultant, is a highly experienced HR and OD professional with over 25 years of diverse industry experience in fintech, IT, and more, across multiple countries. She is a much sought speaker at conferences as well as academic institutions. May I request you, madam, to take your seat in the panel and moderate the discussions. Thank you, ma'am, and the session is yours. Let's give a round of applause for the first panel. You do the honor.
Very good morning. तो सर ने क्या बोला था? आवाज नहीं आई. So दोबारा बोलते हैं. Very good morning. क्या मेरे को सिर्फ इतने सारे डिग्नेटरी बैठ रहे हैं. So we can say good morning to all. So very good morning to all. क्या बात है. So we have such a beautiful beginning of the day, and हमने क्या नहीं सीखा आज, right? So we have learned so many stories of the stalwarts. और कभी-कभी जब मैं यूथ को देखती हूँ तो सोचती हूँ क्या हमें really मालूम है कि 1963 में क्या हुआ था. Thanks to all media, Rocket Boys तो देखा होगा आपने, है ना? वहाँ से स्टोरी शुरू हुई तो हमें पता चला कि भाई ये भी है. और so inspiring. So what a beautiful day, what a beautiful morning. Thank you so much, sir. इतनी बारी तालियां बजी तो बहुत मजा आया. And many times we got tears in our eyes. Thank you for such beautiful work, sir. And we are so proud of you. बट कहानी वहाँ ख़त्म नहीं होती है, क्योंकि समटाइम वी हैव टू रियलाइज दैट शायद हम प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द कंट्री नहीं बन सकते. कुछ डाउट तो हम लेते हैं ना अपने अंदर. हाँ, सो डाउट को ख़त्म करते हैं, क्योंकि नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू लिसन टू द ब्यूटिफुल स्टोरीज ऑफ दिस फैंटास्टिक लीडर्स हु आर ऑन द स्टेज, एंड वी आर गोइंग टू also share stories in the next panels and the round tables. So how do we do that? We are going to ensure that each one of them talk about the journey. और वो जो resilience की definition इतनी खूबसूरती से हमने सुना, I think जितनी बार मैंने word पढ़ा या सुना, इतना beautiful definition मैंने कभी नहीं सुना. तो दोबारा एक ताली हो जाए सर के लिए. कभी नहीं भूलेंगे इतना खूबसूरत इंस्पायरिंग वर्ड को, राइट? क्योंकि इट वाज सो वेल डिफाइंड. बट व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू लिसन टू द फैंटास्टिक स्टोरीज, द डेफिनेशंस विल ग्रो इन आवर माइंड, एंड ईच वन ऑफ यू आर यूनिक लीडर्स. यू आर फ्यूचर लीडर्स, यू आर फ्यूचर, क्या बोलते हैं कि हम लोग किसी और जमाने में चले जाएंगे किसी और जनरेशन में जाने वाले हैं, और आप हमारे जो हैं लीडर्स बनेंगे, तो हम आपके साथ काम करेंगे. लेंगे ना अपनी टीम पे? सही है. So we are going to actually listen to different generations, and we're going to see the journey of different people and going to learn from them that how they have overcome challenges, how they have really created a mark. Speakers तो हम ऐसे ही नहीं लेके आए हैं. थैंक्स तो वैसे नहीं दिया ना आपने हमें. हाँ बोले रूना मैम, आपको सब आपने अपने नेटवर्क से इतने प्यारे प्यारे स्पीकर्स को जो है यहाँ पे लेके आई हैं. तो ये रीज़न ये था, आई एम पर्सनली इंस्पायर्ड बाय देम. बिलीव मी, they have so much beautiful stories to share. I'm moderating today. मैं अपनी भी छोटी सी कहानी आपको सुनाऊंगी एंड में. ओके, सो हम शुरू करते हैं. none other than आशीष. आई थिंक आशीष गर्ग के बारे में मैं कुछ बोल दूं? आपको तो इंट्रोडक्शन हुआ होगा. Absolutely. So Ashish सिर्फ अपनी स्टोरी बताएंगे जब, तो obviously he's going to tell you his journey. But personally I've seen he not only has had a command in the corporate world, not only had worked with many organizations to build it, he is continuing to build leaders like you. So he is attached to many institutions to actually, and when I heard he's going to address 15,000 students in Punjab, so I was like getting jitters. भाई 15,000 बच्चों के सामने, wow. So I think मैं आशीष को ही माइक देती हूँ, अपनी जर्नी सुनाएं.
Thank you, Runa, and thank you everyone, and thank you for having me here. I think I'm not going to just repeat of the things that we actually heard so many times. Most of the people have actually gone through it. But I just wanted to thank Dr. Mahapatra, sir, when you actually started to talk about this whole resilience, starting from this pandemic, VUCA, and how that has actually, impacted and defined the resilience for each and everybody across the globe. Then I actually heard some great actually examples. I mean, we had heard about them, but not in that fashion that, someone you actually explained this morning. Amazed. Thank you so much for taking back into the memories. And also, thank you so much for the services that you do to our country. I think what I actually heard in the two sections this morning, one is definitely this whole thing about a demonstration of resilience in the name of VUCA world. Jobs multiplied from one, like lost one, gained 1.5. And I'm going to take an example of that in my story because I just got some. More importantly, I think the two words that I wanted to attach with resilience, and that's actually have been my story, is resilience with compassion and agility. We have heard so many stories about resilience. We have resilience as a key competency in many leadership development programs and leadership assessment programs. But in my last several years, resilience has two significant dimensions. One definitely on compassion, and the second is on the agility, that how we bounce back, how faster we are actually bouncing back, and how agile we are to the new adaptation. So I think resilience with compassion and agility are definitely two examples. Now, going back to the story that I wanted to share, I just changed this morning now, after listening to Dr. Mahapatra, and this I'm just going impromptu. Excuse me, it is not like a well-crafted or a well thought through. I'm just like going free flow here, and it is actually a real corporate example, and that probably will actually help you all. I'm just taking the example of resilience, compassion, and agility into a real world of my profession. So as you see, Ashish Garg, talent acquisition leader, I've been into this business for several years, but what the last 3-4 years, or maybe I would say those pandemic years were really, really different. Especially being into a global role, I was actually going through those horror stories across the teams. Teams in the US, teams in Mexico, teams in Argentina, India, of course, was like largely impacted. And now taking this whole thing about first time this, I think it was like around 2020 when I was, I think if not the last, but at least the second last person or second last in the flight, which actually just like moved from US to India, and we were like quarantined for 15 days. So going through that experience and what the mess at the San Francisco airport, then getting back to India and absolutely going into those 3 months of lull. No action, everybody was just like, like trying to see what's happening, trying to adjust what is happening, just under the fear, seeing blue skies, praying, doing some type of, I would call like prayers in the thoughts, and just like struggling on their own world. But 3 months gone, things started to come back, and we in India started to, after a bad phase of layoffs, after a bad phase of down economy, we started to bounce back. And that bounce back is my example actually. So the bounce back, not only my example, but the bounce back for the entire team that we actually had. And not only my team, in fact the entire fraternity. I think 2021, most of the leaders would agree, was actually a rebound year from an Indian economy or an Indian corporate growth standpoint. We actually hired as the highest ever number of people in that year. And you know what? It is not about hiring, but each and every individual behind that action was also going through something or other in their personal life. I was actually get mesmerized and amazed by the work that the team was doing, by not taking the names, by specific individuals who were not only down with COVID, but also volunteering, struggling, but at the same point of time working 8 hours, 9 hours, just to meet those unexpected hiring requirements in India. And happy to take follow-up questions. Maybe I'll come back later on. But I just want to stop here and give to other panel members. Thank you very much.
Ashish has lot of stories to offer, okay? Just speaking, being so humble, thoda sa hi bataya, okay? So I think one thing you must have noticed in this panel, that there is a nice diversity. So there were years when we used to say, we don't have women leaders. Kahan hai wo? So a lot of effort, all these HR people, you talked about pandemic, and I'm sure, there had been many, many years effort on DEI. But kya kamal hua hai ki aaj leaders yahan baithe, and I personally had celebrated when Ruchi Mago became CHRO of our company. And we both had spoken over phone. I was like absolutely at cloud 9. So when that happens, I think we all deserve to learn your story.
Thank you, Rona. Okay, I'm really happy to be here as we just heard the story. I mean, your 2 words, and I think my 2 words around resilience will be passion and will be belief in yourself. I think that is what has been my story in my career. I have done roles which I have never done before. So I have been with Orange for last 16 plus years now, and was before that in Airtel. I joined in Comp and Ben. I always loved numbers, and I thought I can never do anything except compensation and benefits. I then moved into talent management. I had never done that before. I then moved into a couple of things from OD to, and these are just a bit of jargon, sorry. But from location strategy to a PMO role to a global HRBP to managing shared services to managing talent acquisition for the entire Orange business globally, and then coming into an India operations. I think what has been one common thing for me is the company trusted in me and they gave me roles which I have never done before. So I used to head talent acquisition globally and we used to hire like 10,000 people. And honestly, I have never done a recruitment alone on my own. So that has been like one thing. And when I look back, I think what it is just a simple rule which I have followed. How can you have your passion to do an extra mile? How can you go an extra mile? How can you create that differentiation? And how can you really do something which others are not doing, right? So that fire in the belly is extremely important. And I'm addressing, budding professionals here and young talent, so as to say. So one key mantra which I would say is build in your brand, look at your strengths, what they are, and market your brand and bring in that visibility as well, because that is extremely important. Okay, so that was a sidetrack. Coming to resilience. From an HR fraternity, yes, as we just heard, there's a lot that has happened. From great resignation, when people were leaving, to great retention, wherein we were wanting to hold back people, to great attraction, wherein, 2021 was a year which we just heard, hirings were on a full swing. And then it was great layoffs. I mean, the great word has also gone through a lot of wide changes, so as to say. And then, moonlighting to quiet quitting. All these are words, but yes, what it just shows that the talent market has changed drastically and immensely over the past few years. And the entire landscape has changed. So there was something that we had to do immediately to change the gears. And you talked about agility very beautifully, right? So for us, it was adapt quickly to what is happening and also anticipate to what is going to be the next move. I think that preparedness is very important. I'll just pick up one or two examples, but I'll then tell you a few tips and tricks of what we did in our organization, and I'll spend more time there. Two examples, when, we were struggling to get talent, and talent was asking like 200, 300% increment, and niche skills like, cloud security, IoT, SD-WAN were all in very, very high demand because of digital transformation. We really changed our gears and said, okay, hire for potential, and let's look at reskilling and upskilling. Let's build our internal career pipeline. We cannot compete with the market in this manner. So that was one way wherein we really changed the gears. The other thing is around diversity and inclusion, and Runa talked about diversity just a few minutes back. So diversity and inclusion has been a very close topic to us. And during this COVID and the social calamity, we actually leveraged on females who wanted to return to work. Because with the remote working, the talent market opened us. And we took that as an opportunity and we really, tapped that untapped talent which we were not tapping earlier. So that's another example. From overall, from wellness, there were a number of things that we had to change because it was no more, physical well-being and a mental well-being. It was also financial well-being. So honestly, it was a overall holistic wellness that came into picture. And HR folks had to do a lot to build that connect with the employees. How can you be there with them even if they are not in front of you? How can you provide that support? How do you build that trust? How do you build that relations? We have had people who joined during the COVID period and they left during the COVID period with the attritions also. And how do you build that sense of belonging was a very, very important factor. Another thing that we saw was work-life balance was talked about, and now it's all about work-life integration, right? There's no lines between work from home and, office and personal life. It is more about how do you integrate the office and the personal life. So it's all about, changing gears and going into a work-life integration. So a lot that has happened, but there are 4 things that we are really focusing on, and that has been our story of resilience, of striving and thriving, so as to say. One is opportunities over problems. How do you bring in that opportunity when there is a problem? So problem statements are immense, but you have to really find that opportunity. The second one is around how do you look from a customer value proposition? So right now, in the organization, there are functions and there are silos and there are departments, and everybody talk about KPIs about our own function. How do you break those silos and how do you work transversely to look at the customer KPIs? So that's another thing that we talked about. Customer value over internal challenges or internal organization is the second one. The third one is very beautiful. Actually, it is about fast decision over perfect decision. Coming to agility again, but we really feel there's nothing which is perfect, right? You have to move fast, fail, make mistakes, try things, be innovative, and fail fast, it's fine. So fast decision over perfect decision is definitely very important. So those are the three ones. And the fourth one, which is about teamwork over individualism. So we have got n number of ways wherein, we build in transversal teams, transversal squads, think tanks to, break that mindset of my individual objectives. At the end, we will succeed as a team, and that is something that we are really bringing in. So these were the four things that I would really talk about, which helped us manage a very tough period, and all of us were in that. And apart from that, with the organization, how can you look from the cost consciousness point of view? How are you competitive enough in the market? So those were definitely the challenges, and we are happy to say that we were able to come up with it very well. So that's my story. Thank you.
So what Ruchi mentioned, a lot of corporate terminology, and I'm sure you are very excited to learn more about them. KPI जैसे शब्द क्या है भाई? So वो हम questions में पूछ लेंगे. Or I think a personal story, like her journey and the corporate journey, both she has very beautifully articulated. And when I met Amit, I personally felt, बाप रे ये कैसे manage करते हैं? He was in a previous organization, it was a software development company, और अब तो एक धमाल कर रहे हैं startup में. तो कुछ और मजा आए, एकदम अलग ही dimension से सुनते हैं.
Thank you, Dr. Runa, and I love Dr. Runa's energy, the way she keeps the fraternity going, how she's just taking things forward. But to start, I really want to wish you good morning, Suprabhatam, anything to make your day start with a good note. So myself, Amit, and I really don't have those great stories where I would tell you, okay, I being resilient did this and that. But what I want to tell you, I have a huge respect of different forces. General Sangwan, the people like him is, really my hero in my actual life. Why so? And it's a beautiful person. And 5 minutes, which I will take deadline from Dr. Runa, that's only you will take, is I will share the whole story from being a student and then where we are sitting today in 23. I wanted to be really in defense forces, and the only reason I pursued my graduation as a BSc Physics honors but not engineering, because I wanted to go to CDS and get the thing sorted. And I cracked CDS, went to SSB, but I was thrown out on the day one itself because of few things which was not under my control, and I was really heartbroken. You imagine all your life you want to do something and you prepare for it, and then you were told you cannot do that. Just imagine the feeling of sinking. And being 22-year-old guy whose family, I belong to Gurgaon basically, all the hinterlands of Jatlands you call it, all family in different defenses, different paramilitary forces. And that's what you grow up seeing, your families, your cousins. And one of the chowk in Gurgaon, you say, Atul Kataria Chowk is my cousin, by the way. So that's what I wanted to be. And why I'm telling you this is, life never will go as you plan in most of the scenarios. Right? That's the challenges you have to take, being resilient. And what it means that whatever comes to you, you have to see how you are your best version of it. Another example I'm to start with, since the theme is COVID. Unfortunately, you see that it was really challenging time for all HRs. We did the same thing. All our staff forces across the globe was fighting. We had everything possible from procuring the ventilators, the oximeters, and plus cylinders and all that. We did everything. But end of the day, in the second wave, I was also kind of get with it, and I was in so bad shape that doctor said, no hope, Amit. Though I was listening, but I couldn't speak, I couldn't hear. I had a saturation of around 65, which means that I had no hope of living actually, right? But that's what he says, no, the only thing I had in that time, and sorry about boring you for these personal stories, but I want to share this. Why? Because the only hope I had in my mind is to see the next day's sun and see my parents in the morning to tell them, okay, it's been beautiful journey so far, and no, I'm glad that I born in this house with you. That was the only hope I had in few of the days when I was fighting with that COVID. Because you know, when you couldn't breathe on your own, only thing you could see is just people, roaming around you, and then, you could only see their expression. You could hardly open your eyes. That's why I think I was not resilient. But I was so hopeful about the life that if I go forward, at least I could thank the people whom I lived for some of portion of my life. And that's what I want to tell you as a student and coming the new talent in the world. If you go through any of the adversity of your life, be it anything, right? Relationships, your study, your social, whatever. And when you hit the bottom, बिल्कुल नीचे, जहां से आप ये सोचो, अरे इससे बुरा मेरे साथ कभी नहीं हो सकता. Just imagine yourself. और वहां से जब आप ऊपर उठते हो, तो उसको कहते हैं being resilient. वो आपकी क्वालिटीज हैं जो आपको एक सुपर ह्यूमन बनाती हैं. और each one of us, believe me, each one of us is a superhuman, superwoman, superman with that one quality that despite being shredded into pieces of this whole social fabric, we know it. कोई आपको कुछ बोलेगा, कोई कुछ बोलेगा, but then अपने आप पे जो विश्वास होगा और उस पे जब आप आगे बढ़ोगे, that is a resilience you need on, right? Just 2 more minutes, Dr. Runa, if you allow. Is, as I said, I started my journey with physics honors because I wanted to be in defense. I wanted to get my career sorted. But जब वो नहीं हुआ, तो क्या? Right, then I chose, I had a neighbor, Mr. Kapoor. उनका बड़ा लड़का was a computer engineer. He went to States, and my father said, अरे भाई, Kapoor साहब का लड़का देख पढ़ लिया, masters कर ली, अच्छी नौकरी लग गया, तू भी कंप्यूटर करके देख ले, ठीक है, कुछ तो होगा अच्छा. And I said, okay, fine. पढ़ाई में इतने बुरे नहीं थे. So I gave some entrances, MCA करने की सोची, और I went into Kurukshetra University और full time मैंने MCA किया. जब वो किया, and जब I went to that course, that was the first time I saw computers. उससे पहले I didn't even know कि CPU होता क्या है, how does it look. दो साल वो किया, and then I went to a very big corporate, got placed and sitting in the Gurgaon building. And I saw for the first few days this all HR fancy suited booted people, really, the power center as you call it, because I being the child who had never seen the corporate world, I saw, अरे यही है company. Actually, I did not know कि मालिक भी कोई चीज होता है, and he drives everything away. But then I thought कि HR इसके पास बहुत power है. ये आके मुझे पूरे दिन बोलता है ये फॉर्म भर अमित, वो भर, ऐसा भर, और हम जो 4-5 लोग उस कैंपस से थे, मैं सोचा कि HR ही बनना है, अब और कुछ नहीं करना. That is the time I found my version of what I want to do whole life, and I prepared for CAT, maths or whatever. बस I did see, मेरे साथ तो हमेशा होता है, जो चीज़ मैं सबसे ज़्यादा जितनी शिद्दत से चाहता हूँ वो कभी नहीं होती. और ओम शांति उनका वो जो डायलॉग है ना, उसका शाहरुख का, वो बिल्कुल ही वाहियात है. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता कि आप जिसे चाहें कि एक वो है कि कायनात लग जाती है आपको वो दिलाने में, वो नहीं. आपकी मेहनत लगती है आपको वो दिलाने में जो आप चाहते हो. ठीक. So, sorry. So, हाँ, तो क्या हुआ फिर HR बनने की कोशिश की और I went into, ठीक है, कॉलेज में गए, and if you want to really know what, तो आप LinkedIn check कर लेना. And I was fortunate, I got a good placement, and I started my career with Motorola, and then I worked there for I think not years but couple of months, because that's what you feel when you get into bigger corporations. You are just confined to one role. और here one advice I want to give you, और आप बहुत जल्दी उस जद्दोजहद से गुजरेंगे. जब आप प्लेसमेंट्स में बैठ रहे होंगे तो होगा क्या कि आपके पास बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज होंगी, रोल होंगे, ठीक है, पैसा, कंपनसेशन, आपके पास इतना सारा आएगा. बट एक एडवाइस मैं जो हमेशा देता हूँ अपने, दो उम्र में आपसे थोड़ा कम हूँ, बट एडवाइस दे देता हूँ कि हमेशा वो चूज करना जो आपको ये लगे कि आपके करियर प्रोग्रेशन में, जो फ्यूचर में आप बनना चाहते हो, वो हेल्प करे. ना कि ये सोच के कि यहाँ पे मुझे 10,000 फालतू मिल रहे हैं, वो कंपनी मुझे 5 लाख का सीटीसी दे रही है, ये 2 का दे रही है, 4 का दे रही है, मुझे ज्यादा पैसा चाहिए बट आई वोंट रियली टू बी इन 5 बिकॉज मुझे पैसा मिल रहा है। कभी मत करना। वो जॉब चूज करना है, वो अपॉर्चुनिटी चूज करना जहां पे आपको सीखने का सबसे ज्यादा मौका मिले, बिकॉज HR इज वन फील्ड। If you know, as we all started with something, हुआ क्या है हम सब में से कि सबने किसी फंक्शन ऑफ HR से स्टार्ट किया, किसी ने TA से किया, किसी ने कॉम्प से किया, किसी ने PMS से किया कुछ किया, and then eventually became HR BPs and started handling the functions. But जो इनिशियल 5-6 साल जब अपने करियर में आप सीखोगे, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होंगे आपके आगे वाले फ्यूचर के लिए, राइट? एंड दैट्स हाउ इट गोज. And I think my time is over, but I will give a mic back to Dr. Runa, and to give that, and we will answer all the questions coming in. But from bottom of my heart, I want you to give big hands to the forces who are shielding us, and people like General, Sangam and Dave. Thank you.
What a beautiful journey. बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट बिलीव करती हूँ, कायनात से खूब मांगो सब मिलता है। मैं उसकी लाइव एग्जांपल, वो बाद में बताएंगे। बट जो एक खूबसूरत बात बोर्ड रूम में हो रही थी वो है कि एक इतनी यंग लीडर जो आज क्रेडिट दे रही थी कि ये मेरे फर्स्ट बॉस थी, ठीक है, वहाँ से लेकर सो आशीष एज अ लाइव एग्जाम्पल who has built a leader who is actually sitting in the same panel. See the beauty? And now she is building leaders. Okay? So I think she has a great story to offer to you, isn't it? So Gayatri, आपकी story.
Hello.
Thank you, Runa, for giving me an opportunity to speak in front of such a beautiful audience. And special thanks to you, sir, for a stellar speech. I think shedding your fears is a mantra that you need to carry for your life. You have to overcome the fear. And I think we all have once in our lifetime. I think my journey just started with Ashish sir, and all credit goes to him. He's my first mentor, my first leader, not my manager, my first leader. He was 5 levels up to me, and I still remember going to him crying and saying that, you know what, I am a failure in recruitment. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Just let go of me. Put me somewhere. I can't do this job. By my background, I was a basketball national player. I played almost 7 nationals and represented my state. But imagine a girl who won many matches reaching out to the leader and saying, oh, I can't do it. Please let go of me and put me in a different department. And this kind gentleman actually reached out to a different department. But before that, he said, look, girl, if you want to move to a different department, you have to achieve this target. If you achieve in a month, I will let go of you. I'll put you in a department there where you really want to be. And I did. That's the level of encouragement that you inculcate. That's the investment in capital. And that's what Lieutenant was just talking about, how you encourage people, that 72 hours tired people, how he encouraged those 20 people to achieve one catch hold of the person they wanted to. That's the achievement, that's the winner spirit. Having said that, when we are talking about resilience, I think we all have certain set of stories that we are talking about. And I'm not going back to what HR did. I think what as human we really need to do in tough times. I still remember 22nd of March 2020 was the time when we all were stuck, the world stopped. My children were away with their nanny, my husband was in a different country, and my 10-year-old, not 10-year-old colleague, 10 years of association with one of the colleagues whom I got to this organization lost her life to COVID. Before that, I thought it's a normal viral. I think it's just a virus, it'll go away, 2, 3, 10 days. Nothing like this we ever thought of. And we lost her. And imagine the family wasn't available. She used to put up a loan here. Her family was back in Bengal. And there was nobody to do a cremation for the girl. That was the toughest time. And I think I was very fearful. I couldn't really take one step towards the girl and hold her hand because the doctor was saying really not to go near her. The whole procedure took about 1.5 days to get her body released and do the cremation. But then you really need to have courage to overcome. There were many colleagues I lost during that, family members, office people. How did we overcome that particular challenge is something that we all need to know as human. It's irrespective of the departments, you know. So what we learned is that no matter whatever the situation is, there is a new day, there is a new life, there is a new challenge that we all need to face. There are many reports around the corner that Ruchi also spoke about agility. The Forbes says that the Forbes report says that about 92%, the C-suite kind of confirmed that 92% of the organization need to be agile. Agility is something which has to be there, but in reality it's about 27%. But COVID pronounced that it has to be really, really high. It's an overnight change that we all kind of faced. So that overnight change comes with a thought, team spirit, association, capital investment, and people who are there connecting, loving each other, to stand up for each other. So this is what my journey had been. The most difficult time, a player reaching out to a stage on knees and saying that, you know, I can't do it, to somebody who raised again and reach at a different level. We keep encouraging people, we keep loving people, and we keep showing a path which is much different. So thank you very much for an opportunity, Runa. Thank you so much.
So that's the beauty of a women leader. I mean, I'm sure you have heard these leaders and also people like Indra Nui. They always talk about family. They always talk about love and affection. They always talk about how they're nurturing both personal and professional side. I think this is the beauty I see in women leaders, and you both spoke about that. आपने खूब सारा HR का जर्नी बताया, बहुत मज़ा आया. लेकिन मैं क्वेश्चन सबके सामने रखना चाहती हूँ. Sometimes we just listen to this fantastic leaders and say अच्छा अपनी story बता रहे हैं, कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का नाम भी ले रहे हैं. सो एक क्विज है आपके सामने. आरजे कॉर्प के नाम आपने सुना है क्या, और उनके क्या क्या प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज हैं? किसी को मालूम है? दयानंद वेट, रुको. किसी को स्टूडेंट्स में से मालूम है? नहीं ना? गूगल कर रहे हो? अच्छा बताओ. हाँ जी, Pepsi, very nice. Huh? Wrong. Costa Coffee. क्या बात क्या बात? दो नाम ले लिया, काफी है. डोमिनोज बेचारे जुबिलेंट रोएंगे अभी कि हमारे को बिल्कुल ही आइडेंटिटी नहीं मिल रही है. कॉम्पिटिटर का नाम ले रहे हो.
That's a message for myself also, that as a employer branding endeavor, we need to do a little more.
That's exact. No. The point is that sometime, why am I, kind of before your, story, I'm trying to say, always try to understand the spectrum these leaders are leading. So they were very humble right now. Okay, बता भी नहीं रहे कि इनके global footprints क्या है, क्या धमाल करके आए हैं वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में. ये सारे ऐसे हैं. मतलब मैं फ़ोन करती हूँ, नहीं यार फिलीपींस जा रहा हूँ, अरे यार मैं ना यूएस में अभी बस मेरी फ़्लाइट पकड़ रहा हूँ. ये सारे ऐसे बोलते हैं. अमित कब मिल रहे हो? आ जाऊँ थोड़ा सा यूके से, फिर बात करता हूँ. तो ये हर कंट्री में घूम रहे होते हैं कोई ना कोई स्टोरी के साथ. और जो दयानंद है, जो इतना बड़ा एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, एंड ही इज लीडिंग द टैलेंट मैनेजमेंट एंड एंटायर टैलेंट वैल्यू प्रपोजिशन. तो दयानंद स्टोरी अच्छे से सुनाइए. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Now I'm nervous. Okay, I think there's been a lot of very, I would say, I'm really touched and I'm humbled that I'm here. So much to learn. And my story is actually all about resilience in learning maybe. So I was born in somewhere in Uttar Pradesh. My parents were posted in a very rural sort of segment. Both were government officers serving rural India, I would say. Typical rural India. And I would just narrate in a way that till I was class 11th, I actually, we started seeing that, okay, 2 hours in a day, the electricity started coming, and then we realizing that we were like very lucky to have that 2 hours of electricity when you could charge your batteries and you could do your all entertainment and all. However, that was the journey. And then again, everybody like, and why I started with this is that there are 3 phases of my life. First phase is just like you. Yeah, when I was young, I was just wanted to, get hold of something which can shape my career. There was no such, today you have, I think I was just noting down somewhere. I could note down around 85 different career opportunities for today's youngsters. At that time, we had just 7 or 8. Defense, civil, medical, engineering, and few more. That's what you could do actually, to be honest. That was what given as, and that was anchored. But lucky, I came to a very good university. My senior is sitting here, and I opted for my graduation. And simultaneously, I also opted for National Cadet Corps. And believe me, that was the turning point of my career. What you could not learn in those academic, setups, you learn other things. Like, for example, what you say, resilience. And, it's like, what is your purpose? What do you want to achieve? And where do you see what are the challenges are coming from? If your purpose is not very well, it's not weighed well, you will not have that energy to fight back. So, for example, I opted a goal for myself that I will go and walk on Rajpath on the day of 26 January. That was the goal I first sought. If I am in National Cadet Corps, I will go and represent my battalion. I will walk on Rajpath. Trust me, it was not a hunky-dory. A person who is just 5 feet 8 inches, it's actually for a Rajpath contingent, you are totally sidelined. You need to be a 6 feet at least to have that place that, okay, now the contingent, the entire fleet is looking good. And Sangwan sir is here, he will vouch on that. So what were the other options? I actually did everything what could have been possible at that time. So I started learning so I opted for a best cadet competition so that I thought, okay, this is one way to go. And it challenged me a lot. I mean, that was the most testing time at that particular, because you are actually sleeping for just 5-6 hours and rest of the time you are actually spending on practicing. Either you're doing sometimes fighting, sometimes you're in cultural, things, and that's what. So the first thing which I realized is that there is something meaningful which I have set for myself and I am fighting for that. So one lesson which I learned and I would like to pass on to you is that you have that one purpose defined for yourself. Otherwise, all those internal energies you will not be able to actually, bring with yourself. Then the second chapter of my life was when I was working with the aviation industry. And as you know, COVID actually had hit the worst, or I would say the worst impacted party in that era was aviation, tourism, hospitality, where you have nothing to do actually, to be honest. I was part of aviation industry. I was in Interglobe that time, and we started seeing that anxiety among all the employees, and we all were I mean, HR was the most anxious party at that time because what to do, because there is a responsibility to remain calm, composed, answering the queries of those people who are really right now. If you call them, they are actually scared. What is the next coming up? Because industry had started adopting those all means and ways. Somewhere it is job cuts are happening, salary cuts is happening, anything, whatever you can just imagine, everybody was offloading its cost, to be honest. And in that time, particular moment, what could have been done? So then I learned the other part of the resilience, that if you really want to fuel resilience, there are two, or let's say this is the engine resilience, there are two fuel which I found out. One was which you have internally, which is your self-motivation or positivity. The other is empathy, which is coming from the other side. These are the two fuel which was running this engine of resilience that time. Why? Because when we started, we made a sort of program. We did e-town halls. We actually created those, I would say, digital social champions, social media champions, who were teaching those gentlemen and ladies who really didn't have any skill set to even to operate what MS Team is, or any other video conference platform is. To be honest, 1 month was totally tense, but it was very funny as well. And I think those memories will still continue Am I audible? Are you there? So those things, yeah. So that was the time when I really found that if these two engines, and we started those, all our WhatsApp groups started, floating with these messages. Now this colleague is, because there was, if you look at the compound all together, and we had around, let's say, for example, let's say in unit 500 employees and 500 into 6. So 3,000 universe you are addressing to, that was your family. And then every day you're seeing some negative message, somebody has lost someone near and dear, and that was too gloomy. What we did, we reached out to each and every person. We started making the, buddies, or I would say that one person who will talk at least another 2 team members every day and do something positive. And that was a time when we really, and also, what about the business? Business was all grounded. Again, leveraging that time, making sure that you look back those all, old, issues. For example, you wanted to do some process re-engineering, you do that, and then, again, I will not bore you with that thing. And then now the third chapter of my life is that I aspire to be a student for my life. What I can do extra. I was very inspired by Dr. Runa Mitra. I said that, okay, now she, after spending so much of corporate, so much of time, she has added the title doctor. How? How has she got so much of time? And that was the trigger point, Runa, that I also, opted for my PhD. And this is my last semester running, and I aspire that. So, and this is not an easy task. This is a very, very difficult task. Many times I feel like I'm dropping the ball. I don't want to do that because, doing a research under somebody who is very, very meticulous, it needs a lot of time and commitment. To be honest, when we work in corporate life, you don't, when you go back, you don't want to do, and you don't want to read and go through those again papers and write your own, your paper. It is not an easy task. What should I do? Again, I thought, okay, let's make a plan. And this is for you. You will actually never find that. So one more thing, one myth. Resilience is not standing 24 hours, or don't read this with endurance. Endurance is different. Resilience is that you have almost dropped the ball, but you want to gain it back. You will have to sometimes, you'll have to take a pause. You will have to think about your strategy planning, and then you'll have to find those 2 engines, self-motivation and find out somebody who has done this or who knows this story. And then this journey will become more easier. So now I have made my own plan that, okay, every week 2 hours I spend on my papers. I have 5-6 hours reading marathon, which I do by end of the month, which I am making a calendar and making tick, 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 tick. When did I not do it? If I have not done it, I carry forward that. And then again, so this is, what I'm saying is that nothing is impossible. It's just a matter of your own thinking, planning, and accepting that you can do it. That's what my story is all about. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. So definitely, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but I have promised you that I'll also talk about my journey. So 2 things I would like to say that, when I started my career, of course, I was not in HR. I started with computer programming. So technology stayed with me. But I was told that, no, you're good with people, move to HR. So that is somewhere I would say that my professional journey started. But when I reached the, entire environment of profession, I find there were not too many women leaders. So I took a, journey of how do you actually sustain in the environment. And every time, I was very lucky when I joined an organization called Escorts, and I joined Escort Finance. In 6 years, I could become HOD, and I was told, वो जो एक छोटी सी लड़की है ना, वो Escort Finance की HR head है. So I think that was somewhere I learned that, अच्छा ऐसा भी होता है. And I'm very lucky when, I have attended the board meeting when Rajananda sir said, come and sit next to me. I was like, really, am I really getting those kind of opportunities? But of course, it was not easy because in the boardroom, I was the only woman. Okay? So actually becoming a woman leader who's sustaining in spite of, and when I joined Scores Group, my son was only 1 year old. So I was definitely trying to match up to the expectation of family and also trying to ensure that I give my best to the 30 divisions we had international divisions, सब कुछ करना जरूरी था और ऊपर से growth भी चाहिए था. And above all, I always wanted to really prove to myself that there is nothing called gender. So I took that era of being and came to the point that when we are talking about being gender agnostic, मुझे अभी भी कभी किसी से मिलती हूँ तो मुझे वो man है, woman है, कुछ ऐसा नहीं आता है. I look at a human being. A beautiful person in front of me. So that is something I could grow with as a person, and I also ensured then when I'm, working with my team, building leaders, they also do that. So I think that is one way of looking at my career, my life. But second thing which I'm currently on, and when you talk about that, okay, doctorate, yeah, difficult था, Dr. Mahapatra ने मुझे बहुत inspire किया, बहुत support किया. But I think the most important part is that when we were again, assembled in the morning and we're saying, that okay देखो कितने young leaders हमारे हैं साथ में बैठे हैं हम किसी और era के हैं because I have 30 years experience, so 20 years in the corporate world, 10 years as a gig worker. So I work with one of the very inspirational leaders sitting with here, Gaurav, and of course he's doing wonders and you listen to him, and there are students like you, so I teach and also work with various organizations. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to be relevant. I'm trying to see that in my generation, when we are talking about generation inclusion, that's my current journey, second journey. That when you're actually working with youth like you, fantastic leader, who are all part of information era, and there is somewhere people say, वो जो 50 years के हो गए, 60 years के, वो technologically challenged है. या कुछ और challenge बताया जाता है. So that mindsets are there in different generation for another generation. So my current journey is to ensure that we are all looking at generation inclusion. Let's work together. Because you have people at home who are 90-year-old, 100-year-old. हम 60 years के बाद 40 साल के लिए उनको बोले घर बैठे रहिए. नहीं हो सकता ऐसा. I'm sure they have a lot to offer. 70s and 80s. And I met Sir, which batch? 1971 batch of IIM Ahmedabad. Can we give him a round of applause? Dr. Tyagi is sitting here. So if I'm taking permission to say your age, 80 years, right? Yes. क्या बात है? So when have all these generations together, are we becoming generation agnostic? Okay, can we work with all? So that is my current journey, and I want to stay as gig worker. I want to really work with you all and ensure that when we are talking about these beautiful stories of all resilient stories, ये छोटा सा story मेरा है. With thanks to all of you. So अब आप questions ले सकते हैं because we have to give panelist and fantastic leader Sonal is here to take the mic. ये basketball champion की बात करें, वो खेल कर आए हैं सुबह सुबह. Okay, so I'm sure there's a break and then you will actually go back to the next panel. Usse pehle, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Happy to take those questions for our panelist. Do we have mic for audience? सवाल है कि नहीं? हाथ उठाएं?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Please introduce yourself and do after your question किसके लिए सवाल है जरूर बताइएगा.
Hello ma'am, my name is Dipanshu and my question is, for example, if you hired an individual and you will find out that after 3 or 4 months he's not performing well. So now you have a decision to take. Whether you will take that individual, whether you will give him chance to perform well, maybe he will perform next month better. So now there is 2 things. First is you have to take the decision through your instinct. Like your instinct is saying that that individual will gonna perform well next month. But data is saying that from the past 3 months he have not performed well. So according to like whether you will go for the data or listen to your instinct, like how do you justify your decision?
Okay, I can start and then we can add. Okay, so it's a very interesting question, right? I mean, if a person is not performing for a few months, do the organizations take a decision or not? I will talk from my experience. According to me, there are three things, right? Knowledge, skill, and attitude. Knowledge and skills are absolutely fine and you can learn it. I think the bigger thing is an attitude. So you want to really understand and introspect what the issue is all about. Most of the organizations will not fire people immediately, and I'm saying most here with a disclaimer. So everybody is given an opportunity, and I think that dialogue and connection is important to understand the root cause of it and then come up with what is needed to address the situation. So generally a person doesn't perform for 3 months, is out, is actually a no-no. But I'll let others add.
Yeah, sure. Okay, great. By the way, no great ask, and the juncture will never come. With the new age companies and their, I think, innovative HR practices, everyone in the HR, this is the last thing in our mind to have someone go. And believe, it really feels bad from the personal angle, organization angle. I really don't want to deal with anyone and telling in face, buddy, this is the last day or this is what it is. But where it goes right and wrong is, as Ruchi very correctly said, it's about the attitude, the value you are bringing in system. What I personally lately start seeing is, and most of my friends as well, the hiring and talent acquisition kind of, moved from, credentials from the competencies. That means you are hired for the skill which you have passion for. And if traditionally organization used to follow the bell curve, this and that, the whole model has changed to the methodologies like OKRs and all, where you, at the very start of whatever you being into, are placed at the growth path. But even if, unfortunately, let's say you don't meet the target, there are ample opportunities with the organization, as my friend was saying, that you get to move to a different department. As Gayatri was saying, she did not enjoy TA, but she asked for someone to move to a different department, and that was obliged because the target was given, and she passionately proved it. Here is the magic happens. It's about your passion, what you want to do, and it's about the organization's will to give that responsibilities. With the 3 months, I would say it would be very short period for any one of us or in the organization to gauge what you are capable of. But mostly HR, and I see, on behalf of, with the disclaimer, as Ruchi said, do not take decisions to let someone go. It's other way around, that we work with people who are struggling in one particular role to kind of, cross move, see upskilling and reskilling. There are different jargons you can use, but that's how I think HRs work for modern era companies, and nowadays, how the people practice it. All from me.
Any other questions?
Good afternoon to all. I am Akshat from the PG2 batch, and followed to the previous question, my question was that in the few months ago, there was also a scenario where there was mass firing and layoffs. So all of you being in HR or being from the HR background, how do you dealt with that kind of situation? Because there was a lot of layoffs, lot of firings.
We didn't do a lot of firing, so I'll let somebody else answer that.
Okay, so this is the question added on to last question, right? Okay, so again, to be honest, any HR decision is totally linked with maybe two things. One is, what is the organization context? Second is, what is the organization current context and what is the future context? So for example, let's say there are some, please sit down, please. So there are, and before I answer to last question, mass layoff and mass, those things, I'll just add what, just I wanted to add something on the first question also. So there are different phases of any organization. There is a phase which is the entrepreneurial phase, where you have just started. And you know what, when you're working, let's say for example, in a close group of 30 people, and you do not have much leeway of time actually, to be honest, because there you need people who are actually in entrepreneurial setup, you don't have any work-life balance, you don't have any sort of, there is a one mission and you have to complete it. For example, there are many companies in India which has started from that, and they were very infamous for their practices. But the same company, which they actually evolved and they became actually from a small cap to mid cap to large cap, those companies, they also changed their character, their culture. They also started building about what should be, how can we invite or attract more and more, talent from outside. And those companies, they started changing the entire style. But still, while we say this, there are still some very famous multinational companies, and I'll not name one of them, which is a very big PE firm. I have someone, one of my friends working there. They say that they fire every year 10% of their people. And in that company particularly, nobody is actually from any tier B, is all are tier 1, and all are, I would say LSC and Kellogg and those sort of, pedigree which they take. But they fire 10% every year. Because why? Because they believe in this, that when they draw a bell curve, they let go of the tail. Simply, whoever fall in that tail, they let go of that. And this is happening. And this company is very big, to be honest, one of the biggest PE firm. Now coming to this other question, there are situations which it happens, but there is always a professionalism around everything. See, when you hire anybody, you hand over a contract. That contract has got each and every term and conditions. What we do, what I have learned, that dealing everything with human angle is very important. You cannot have a situation that, okay, one day you just shut the door and disable the email ID and no. There is a professional way of doing each and everything. And I was part of telecom industry when telecom had almost 13 players. And I worked for 3 telecom players, to be honest. And the last one which I worked, it was a multinational company, and I worked there for 10 years in India and some other countries. And there was a day when we had to do this. We had to really, we had to scale down all the circles which we were operating in. And I was the transition manager at that time, and we had to shut some of the circles. We had to go and walk, and we had to meet all these people. And we did one thing very simple, that we didn't stop the listening. We were listening, we were understanding, and we were giving that faith and belief to those people who affected parties, that boss, we will do each and everything possible in our control to ensure that your interest is taken care of. And we became a good advocate for them, and also we came back and we also understood the management decision. We respected that as well. And then that is how you do it. Without any those thoughts that, okay, you have to cut you have to just run away from the situation. No. As in, I think the last thing which in Indian society you will expect is disrespecting anyone. So we did everything very nicely, and everything went very well, actually.
And I will just add, when Amit was talking about his story, he talked about that, when you will be sitting in the placements, don't only look at the compensation and the offer, right? And he gave an example of X rupees here and there. So I think what is very important for all of you when you will be sitting in the placements, do a very good research and analysis on how the culture of the company is. And by the way, right now there's n number of social media, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, XYZ. Talk to people, find out how the company is, because that is very important. Don't get lured that, okay, this is the comp and this is the title. That will come your way. Initial years are that you need to be in a good organization. The culture is good, which provides you a big canvas to showcase your capability and potential and then build your skills. Now, this kind of a situation can happen in any firm, right? We looked at GAFAs and the biggest players, and they were, okay, financial situation comes, yes, layoffs could happen, and then the story of resilience comes in, right? You have to bounce back. And how will you bounce back? With your skills, with your passion, and with your belief in yourself. So those are the 3 things which I would say here to just conclude the answer.
Thank you so much, and there is a clear indication, and in my I also have a cycle time as a, I have a project management person. So मेरा तो अब हो गया है. Next question personally पूछ लेना. So please, I'm sure you have great opportunity. There are wonderful leaders waiting to share their stories. So I'm handing over the mic to you.
Thank you so much, panelists, for your... sir, I request you to kindly sit down right now. for your insightful discussions, and we clearly learned a lot from all of you. And now I would request our faculty members to kindly present the memento to our panelists. So I'd like to invite Professor Ajay Mehta, Professor of HR, to kindly present the memento to Mr. Dayanand Tripathi. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request Professor Vikram Tyagi to present the memento to Ms. Gayatri Sharma. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request Professor Rajiva Ranjan to kindly present the memento to Mr. Amit Kataria. Thank you, sir. Now I would request our placement head, Mr. Shivkant Sharma, to kindly present the memento to Ms. Ruchi Mago. I would request Dr. Arun Khatri to kindly present the memento to Mr. Ashish Garg. And now I would request Professor Sonal Dahiya to kindly present the memento to Dr. Runa Maitra, the moderator for panel 1. Thank you so much, Sonal ma'am. Now let's have a big round of applause for our panel number 1. We learned a lot of things from the discussions. And now I would request the panelists to move back to their respective seats among the guests. So now we are going to have our second plenary session, and the things are going to be set. So kindly bear with us for 2 minutes. We learned a lot of things and how endurance is different from resilience. So resilience is that fire in your heart that keeps you from bouncing back to the negative thoughts that you get. And so we have learned a lot of things from our keynote speaker as well. I hope we are taking that knowledge with us when we move back to our homes. This is the first panel, sir. Oh, let me just. Sorry for the. Yes, sir. Okay. So now I'll be inviting the panelists for panel number 2, the members of panel number 2. Mr. Gaurav Sabharwal, co-founder and CEO of Jock, is an accomplished entrepreneur with a keen emphasis on value systems, driving business growth and cultivating high-performance global teams. With more than 2 decades of business experience, he has played a pivotal role in co-creating and managing successful tech-enabled ventures. Thank you, sir, for taking your seat on the dais. Mr. Rahul Jain, Head of HR at Tractors and Farm Equipment Limited, is an ICF Associate Certified Coach and recognized social media influencer. He brings 23 years of extensive HR experience across diverse industries. His expertise spans HR business partnering, coaching, compensation and benefits, talent management, and more. You're welcome on the dais, sir. Mr. Rajesh Kumar Tripathi, Zonal General Manager at NSIC Limited, is a highly experienced human resource professional with a rich background spanning nearly 25 years. His expertise spans various HR domains from talent resourcing to employee engagement and industrial relations. You're welcome on the dais, sir. Mr. Atul Tiwari, the Chief Human Resources Officer at Spice Money, is a highly experienced HR and consulting professional with a career spanning over 16 years. His expertise covers a broad range of HR functions, including HR consulting, global HR, tech rollouts, leadership development, and more, across diverse industries globally. You're welcome on the dais, sir. Mr. Amit Mishra, Deputy General Manager, Human Resources at Landis & Gyr, is an accomplished HR leader with a rich background spanning 17 years. Throughout his career, he has been instrumental in providing transformational HR solutions and driving change management through organizational re-engineering. You're welcome on the dais, sir. Mr. Esteemed Tripathi, Chief Human Resource Officer at Multiply Brand Solutions, is a professional driven by the aim to positively influence the lives of many. His career goal is to empower human systems such as organizations, institutions, and communities to optimize their capabilities and find a mutually meaningful and rewarding balance. I request you, sir, to take your seat on the dais. Ms. Sonal Kapoor Sinha, Head of Human Resource at Esme Consumer, is a distinguished HR leader and labor law practitioner with nearly 2 decades of diverse industry experience. Her expertise spans various critical areas, including organization development, leadership, and people development, driving business performance and creating employment delight. May I request you, madam, to take your seat and kindly moderate the discussions. The session is all yours.
वो वाली फीलिंग आ रही है क्लास अटेंड की नहीं और सेशन लेना आई मिस द फर्स्ट इंट्रोडक्शन सो मोस्ट ऑफ देम आई जस्ट गॉट टू नो नाउ दो आई मीन यू गाइज आर नेम्स टू रेकन विद सो आई नो वीव इंटरैक्टेड अर्लियर ऑन टू सो थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी हियर एंड आई होप आई डू जस्टिस टू योर स्टोरीज and again Runa interesting यहाँ diversity थोड़ी ख़त्म हो गई है so in fact I can't stop myself from sharing so I was playing badminton in the morning and I thankfully have cleared and I will be playing semis tomorrow so I played in all men with my dad he's 72 so I got a bit of a leeway and I could play plus 45 so he and I beat about there were 6 teams, I guess. Top 4 will go tomorrow. So again, an all men in the morning. So, so okay, I guess the day has been like that. I guess my job here is very interesting. I believe there are stories that I should share too, but most importantly, the story should come from you. I would only contextualize a bit for all of you. You know, resilience is not when things are falling. Resilience is about when you have to get up. And I'm hoping when you share your stories with them who are, listening and wondering how many more times will they have to run with this fear of failure. You know, throughout our schools and colleges, we're okay. We know people fail, people pass. You know, we know some benchmarks. I think outside when you reach this world, you don't know the benchmarks. You don't know what's failure. And I think one of the toughest ones is when you fail people you either love or you admire. So if you haven't already thought about those stories, I would request you to put those forth to them too. Because I think all of us, or especially them, would be right now be answerable to themselves, to their parents, and to their teachers. And I think in their hearts, they're wondering, what if life doesn't take us where they believe we can go? I think let's help them come back from there. Yeah. So without any order, okay, who has the birthday in this month by any chance? Or the next month, October birthday? No winter babies? Okay, all right. So then I guess I'll come to you. Do you have a mic? Would you just want to just probably talk about yourself and then the story that you would want to put forward?
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Mahapatra and Runa and JK Business School for having me here. I come from a very small village in Pratapgarh in UP. Have done my schooling from there only, and then did my graduation from University of Allahabad and MBA from Lucknow University. I have been working in HR industry for last 17 years. Have been into multiple roles, right from talent acquisition to talent management to comp and ben total rewards. Right now I am heading talent management, total rewards and HR operations for an organization called Landis & Gear, which is into smart metering domain. And we do energy management globally. We are #1 in what we do. And coming to the topic about the resilience, so everybody has spoken about the unstable and uncertain time which we faced in last 3-4 years time. I'm not going to repeat it. We all understand it, what has happened, what all we faced and how we came out of that. But I would want to give you 3 lenses from which you should look at the resilience. The very first lens, many of the speakers in my previous panel have already spoken. The very first lens is the personal resilience. So you have to see that the situation which is in front of you, wherein you are falling down, what all those aspects which you should take care of to be resilient personally. It could be your physical fitness, it could be your mental well-being. So please focus on that, care for yourself, care for your family and ecosystem which is around you, so that whenever you are in need, that is available to support you. And I have been blessed with my wife who has been standing strong throughout this pandemic time when I got infected 2 times. I'll be talking about that more. I got infected 2 times, but I had certain deliverables to meet, and I delivered it. My daughter got infected. My elder daughter got infected along with me in 2001 in the second season, as to call it. Second wave of the pandemic, and we had to deliver the compensation reviews. And let me tell you that my daughter was lying just beside me on the same bed. We quarantined ourselves in the home, and I was taking medicines. We could not go to hospitals. Everything was like closed. But I consulted a doctor over these team calls, etc., and then I got my medicines. And within 3-4 days, I had to rise from those ashes and had to complete that compensation review for 1,000 people, because it was not only about me. It was about those 1,000 people who have been helping the organization for last 2 years, because last year was also very bad, and they were hoping that their hard work will be rewarded. So that is the personal resilience lens which I want to give you. Second part of the personal resilience, as we all were talking about, and I have been talking about since morning, that the industry is reshaping itself. So guys, and I would want to take up that question also, that what if the person is not performing after 3 months? Okay, so you have to remain contextual in a professional world. In an era where these changes are happening really very rapidly, AI is coming up and taking up so many things. So you have to be really very agile, and you have to be proactive while you are taking care of all those things in your professional life, your personal professional being. keep on updating yourself, keep on reskilling, upskilling of yourself so that you remain contextual. Now, coming to that second lens, wherein I would want to talk about the agility or resilience in your function. I'll go back to the same story wherein I was lying in bed and I had to complete those compensation reviews for my organization. So that taught me a story to build that, though we do it, we do lots of role changes, job rotations in the organization to ensure that the BCP is there. But still, compensation is a thing wherein sometimes you are alone, you are the lone wolf who completes it. The guys the HR folks here with me will agree to that. But what I started doing is that I started preparing my second line. So second line in my organization itself, my second in command who's there, I prepared him for spearheading the entire compensation exercise. And let me tell you, that helped me because in the year 2021 only, after the annual compensation review, we did one more correction. And unfortunately, there was a family incident and I had to attend that. And this champ, he did it really, really well without a flaw, and that was being appreciated by the management. So the second thing is that how you build the professional and your resilience at the team level. Let's take it to the macro level now, to the organization level, how you look at the resilience at the organizational level. As the previous panel also attached this word, and I really, really like it, resilience can't help it alone. You have to be agile. Agility has to be coupled with resilience. Unless until you are agile, resilience alone is not going to work. And not only that, also predicting future, preempting things, be ready, be proactive. So be proactive, be resilient, and be agile. That is the mantra when you are running large scale organization. So let me tell again a real story. Pandemic broke in the first cycle of the pandemic, and we are a smart metering organization. We are having our R&D center here in Noida only. We are having approximately 1,000 R&D engineers who are working. There are lab setups, etc. So when the pandemic broke at the global level and we started seeing that it is happening across the globe, we planned it in really, really advance. Let me tell you, we never had this work from home, hybrid working, etc. So we planned, we were doing the pilots. We were doing the pilots in advance that how would our R&D engineers work from home if situation so comes. And I'm not cooking the story, this is the reality. The first pilot completed, and while we were running with the second pilot, lockdowns were announced. And we were all there, we were all ready to manage that how the devices will be supplied to the engineers to their home, to complete their R&D stuff, how the logistics will be managed, how the teams will be working. We are a tech organization, so we utilize the technology really, really very well. So we were really, really ready there. So it's all about being proactive, preempting what is happening and how you're going to combat that situation. So there the resilience comes into the place. And you have to be agile. Implementing those changes really, really very, very quickly. Think fast, fail fast. Now, not only that, the last part of it, yes, we also saw those boom, and then we had to scale down also, and now we are scaling up. So, and somebody was asking that layoffs are happening, so how you do it? So yes, as an organization, see, that is my very, very pet phrase, and I dare to call it out in every platform that organizations are teams. They're not families. They are teams. You have to perform, you have to remain fit. Whether you are Sachin Tendulkar or Ronaldinho's of the world, you have to remain fit, you have to perform to remain in the teams. So layoffs will happen, they are reality, but when we do it with lots of respect, dignity, and with very, very human face. We manage, we ensure that all the compliances are met, and we go beyond the compliances and ensure that people get the jobs outside. We ensure that outplacement agencies working, if at all we have to do some downscaling and we have to reduce our manpower. So we ensure that with all of our effort of upskilling, reskilling, and helping them reinvent themselves, no one of our person who got laid off was sitting idle even for a 15 days time. So that is how we have been sailing through this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if you all realize when you read the names of the companies, it's a heady mix that we have here on panel. We have Small Industries Corporation, so that's a different world, and I'm sure Spice Money also somewhere sort of subsets into the same world. You're trying to equip. Multiply Brands is trying to ensure that the brands remain effective out on the field, and again, somewhere today, most of the retail brands are working towards the next 500 million consumers. So in a way, sustainability and of course, tractors. I mean, so I think there are various elements of the economy sitting right here. And Gaurav, you've created an enabler for all of us to ensure that we all perform. I incidentally work for an organization which again talks to, again, all our consumers are from the next 500 million. We make cosmetics for the mass market. So why I'm putting this in context is that when you're sharing stories, and I'll come now to you, sir, for NSIC, what happened in your world then, and of course your personal stories. So I'm sure it's a very different world for you. The construct and the structures are very different. So how did you deal with that, please?
Thank you, Sonal. In fact, when you talk of my company, that's National Small Industries Corporation, it's a public sector. It's a public sector under central government. So we are talking about stories of resilience. Somehow I feel that resilience is something which has been there in the society, has been there since so many years. मगर इसकी पहचान कब हुई? इसकी पहचान जब कोविड आया तब हम लोगों ने इसको जानना शुरू किया. तो एक तरीके से हम कह सकते हैं कि कोविड की कहानियां आपके पास जिंदगी में पहले भी होती थी. हर इंसान की जिंदगी में कहानियां हैं और रेजिलियंस से जुड़ी हुई कहानियां हैं. But when we are talking here, it is saying that board, no, 360-degree resilience. I mean that degree of depth or what you say, this strength is quite high. So when we are talking about resilience here, it means which actually can convert into some kind of a story. We all are living with our resilience. All of us. It's few who can define it in words and few who cannot define it. और मेरी थोड़ी आदत कुछ और तरीके की, मैं कहता हूं कि उसको रखता हूं आंखों में मैं पानी की तरह, उसको रखता हूं आंखों में मैं पानी की तरह, किससे लिखता हूं किताबों में कहानी की तरह. तो बात कहानियों की हो रही है और कहानियों में आप देखेंगे ना, हर इंसान की जिंदगी में बहुत सारी खूबसूरत कहानियां हैं. मोहब्बत की कहानियां हैं. मोहब्बत की कहानियां मेरी भी थी, लेकिन वो कहानी अब शादी में बदल गई, तो मगर कहानी फिर भी रही. तो मैं व्यक्तिगत कहानियां पे फोकस नहीं करना चाहूंगा कि मैं कहां से गुजरा, कहां तक पहुंचा. It's a long story. I have been into HR for last 25-26 years, into government sector, into power sector, group like Tata Power, GMR, all those big companies I was there. But here, when she talked about how this concept of resilience worked with small industries, I would just share a very small portion of that. Public sectors are not very smart in using technology and the system and all that. It is currently also a lot of file work, lot of writing, lot of note sheets and everything. And when suddenly all of this is stopped, so people were actually not aware how to run the organization, and there were many people who did not have laptops or something like that, or mobiles were there, but they were not smartphones. But the organization has to go on, and I was heading HR at that time. So what we did, in fact, is initially we tried to get a communication through mobile itself, getting in touch with our CMD and the people in the ministry and all that. And the first thing that we did in that part is we just donated 1 crore to the Pradhan Mantri. There was a fund created to help people in Corona. And just think, when we talk of resilience, no, there is a lot of agility is required. So in a government system, if you practice too much of agility, no, you will be fired the next day. lot of writing has to be done. But still we manage through, write a mail or on a personal mail ID or official mail ID, or even WhatsApp used to work like that, an official communication. So that way, we started communicating with the employees. We were closed only for a month, in that entire Corona period, only for a month. And thereafter we started working. We did so many changes during that period, changes which we would not have thought of. Like there are systems, there are impaneled hospitals, there are limited hospitals where you can go, this, that, you need prior approval, everything. But keeping in view the circumstances that we were facing that time, I took an approval that let us not restrict our employees to go to any specific hospital. Let them go to any hospital which is nearby, which is offering the help. We started giving, the finance people, they were keeping those systems. घर से ही वो लोग ऑपरेट करके अगर कुछ पैसे ट्रांसफर करने हैं और ऑफिशियली हॉस्पिटल्स को पेमेंट करनी है वो हो जाती थी. We had a lot of this third party workforce. इनके साथ दिक्कत थी कि भाई इनको सैलरी कहाँ से दी जाए, इस तरीके की दिक्कत हुई. हमने वो डिसीजंस भी लिए कि ये ऑफिस नहीं आ रहे हैं, इनको भी आप पेमेंट करो, चाहे आपके रेगुलर रोल पे हो ना हो. तो इस तरीके के डिसीजंस जो है वो एक एजिलिटी को ही दिखाते हैं एक गवर्नमेंट सेटअप में, एक पब्लिक सेक्टर में, जहां पे ये अपने आप में कहानियां बन जाती हैं. बट आई वुड जस्ट लाइक टू शेयर ए प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल ऑफ रेजिलियंस बिफोर कोविड, क्योंकि कोविड में तो बहुत सारी आ गई हैं, हमारे पास बहुत सारी कहानियां हैं. आई वुड जस्ट टॉक अबाउट ए कंपनी लाइक टाटा पावर. We had just taken over the power distribution in Delhi, and the people were government employees, Delhi Vidyut Board. So lot of industrial relation issues, lot of Zindabad, Murdabad, all things were happening. And then management one fine day decided that let there be a biometric system for attendance. तो गवर्नमेंट सेटअप पे कोई भी चीज़ नया लाने के लिए या कुछ भी करने के लिए इतना आसान नहीं होता कि आपने मशीन लगा दी और कह दिया, एक ऑफिस ऑर्डर निकाल दिया कि फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट डे ऑनवर्ड्स यू स्टार्ट डूइंग दिस एंड दैट. एक दिन लगाई, दूसरे दिन वहाँ पे पता चला यूनियन वालों ने मशीनें तोड़ दी, फिर आप सिक्योरिटी लेके आए. और ऑल ओवर स्प्रेड नॉर्थ वेस्ट दिल्ली में पूरा जो अर्लियर इट यूज्ड टू बी नोन बाय द नेम ऑफ टाटा नॉर्थ दिल्ली पावर लिमिटेड, सब्सिक्वेंटली इट गॉट चेंज टू टाटा पावर दिल्ली डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. So in that turbulent story of resilience that comes to our mind is what we did that time. उस समय हम लोगों ने कहा कि let us not issue any circular, let us not do anything, but we have to achieve that purpose of maintaining a good attendance system, a biometric attendance system. So we just identified few of our office locations and kept those biometric machines there, and simply told that we are just doing a kind of experiment, how it works. So it is not mandatory for anybody, but जहाँ जहाँ ये मशीनें लगी हुई हैं, जो लोग वहाँ पे हैं, थोड़ा अटेंडेंस लगा के देखें कि भाई कितना काम करता है, कैसे काम करता है. मतलब हमें तो पता था कैसे काम करता है, लेकिन हमें उनकी आदत डालनी थी. आदत अगर आप किसी भी मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम में आदत अगर आप फोर्सफुली डालना चाहते हैं तो देयर विल बी लॉट ऑफ रेजिस्टेंस. आपको उनको सिस्टम में एक एक्सेप्टेंस क्रिएट करना है. तो जिन जगह पे हमने मशीन्स लगाई और इतने सारे रेजिस्टेंस, बहुत सारी यूनियंस है वहाँ पे, इंजीनियर्स एसोसिएशन होती है, वर्कर्स यूनियन होती है, ग्रेड स्टाफ की एसोसिएशंस होती हैं, एंड देन पीपल हु वेयर पोस्टेड देयर दे स्टार्टेड यूजिंग इट. तो धीरे धीरे करते हुए करीब 3-4 महीने हो गए, इट सडनली बिकम देयर हैबिट. जब उनकी आदत बन गई, फिर हमने एक सर्कुलर निकाला कि नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट दिस अटेंडेंस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम थ्रू दिस बायोमेट्रिक सिस्टम. और बिना किसी होपला के, बिना किसी डिफिकल्टी के, बिना किसी प्रोटेस्ट के ये पूरा सिस्टम हमने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अडॉप्ट कर लिया. सो दैट वाज द बेस्ट सिस्टम जो हमने किया कि रेजिलियंस की इतने सारी निगेटिविटी, इतनी सारी सिस्टम्स की दिक्कतों के बावजूद, दो वी टुक सम टाइम बट स्टिल वी कुड डू इट सक्सेसफुली.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure आपने threads पकड़े होंगे. When he was sharing about, his story, see, resilience में कोई acknowledgement नहीं होता. Resilience is your own win. So if you're waiting that I was resilient and I should be celebrated, I think the celebration is in your achievement. So that's something, when Amit said that, when his second in line stood there, it's not like people would have walked up and said, oh, what a thought, I mean, it wasn't that. It is his win and the person's win, and yeah, things didn't fall. You know, here again, I mean, biometric lagna hai to lagna hai. I'm not sure you get options there. Matlab, wo nahi hota hai. But I think the stories of resilience is where it's a win. It keeps you ticking every day. And absolutely right, sir. आप सब resilient हैं. आज भी, कल भी. आप लोगों ने बचपन से. I think the biggest resilience is when we learn to walk. बस हमें पता नहीं है. कितनी बार गिरते हैं हम, कितनी बार चोट लगती है, बट वी जस्ट डोंट नो बिकॉज हमारी जिंदगी में कोई बेंचमार्क नहीं होता. देयर इज नो जजमेंट, देयर इज नो वैलिडेशन. आई थिंक देयर आर मोर स्टोरीज दैट वी शुड लिसन, एंड आई थिंक आई एम गोना कंप्लीटली हॉप ऑन टू यू, Gaurav. And I think your world has been not just this COVID, much before. You've been founding businesses, you've looked at. So tell us about your journey, you know, your fear of failures, your need for validation, everything. Just run us through that.
And thank you, Sonal, and thanks the audience here. I know that it's almost lunchtime, so I'll keep it short. I'll keep it around 10, 12 minutes max, and I'm going to time myself. All right. So, you know, there is a saying by Mike Tyson that everyone has a plan till the time someone comes and punches you on your face, and then you fall down, right? And everybody will fall down. If you're going into a boxing ring, you have to take it for granted that there is going to be a time where you will get hit on your face and you will fall down. The power is, do you get up and when do you get up, right? That's the only game we are playing here. So, so I'll give you a little snapshot of my, you know, professional career for the last, let's say, 20, 21 years. And maybe if you can pick something from there, that could help you. So, born in a business family, I moved to the US in 2001 for my higher education. And 2001, 2000, it was 1 year done, and I get a call from my father one day, and he said, why don't you come back? And I was like, I was here for a 4-year course, what happened? And he said that we've lost our biggest customer, which has been giving our business for 20 years, and I don't think I can afford the education anymore. So that was the first time I got hit on the face, right? And I was like, no, I'm not going to give up. What are the other options that we have? So he said that you're in the middle of the market, you're in New York. We used to manufacture women apparel and, you know, sell to all the importers and stores in the US. He said, if you can figure it out, then yeah, we can think what we can do, right? So I said, okay, send me the samples. And, you know, I had my classes in the morning. I used to go to the New York fashion district, as they call it, in the Midtown, and then started knocking doors. And before we know it, you know, 4 years fast forward, and we grew the business about 500%. And great going, and graduated 2005, came back to India. I always loved India and wanted to be close with the family, you know, joined the business family. And then 2008, again, somebody punched on the face, and that was the global recession. And the business which was going on since 1982, my father started it. You know, we had huge financial losses, and that time the business sustained, but I figured that, you know, having the 3 men in the family, me, my brother, and my father, having in the same business might not be the best way to go forward. So what do we do here? So 2008 is when I got off the family business and I got into tech. So since last 16 years, you know, I've been in tech and actually helped, founded about 9 different startups in the last 16 years and failed 5 times horribly. You know, we have closed down those businesses, but succeeded 4 times as well. 1, we got an exit last year. 2 are going successfully well. And then started another startup called Job, which I'm kind of leading right now, called Joy of Performing. And that comes with a lot of passion and a love of entrepreneurship because, and for people, right? I'm not an HR, as you can say, I don't have those stories, but the love of people, because people want to really do good and they want to perform, but we end up measuring their performance and not enabling their performance. And that is what I saw in my career of 20 years, in my modest career of 20 years now, that if you are able to give that ecosystem and environment for people to stand up when they fall, they would stand up. But if you just wait there and do the counting as a referee, you know, yeah, sometimes they can, sometimes they don't, right? And that is what we do today at Job. We help enable business and people performances together. But yeah, that's, I'm not going to get into those details, maybe at some other time. But yeah, that's my short story of resilience, and that is what I have learned. And while when you fall, you get up, my only last thing would be that when life gives you lemon, you know, make a lemonade. Have fun. Like, it's not the end of the story. The story doesn't end till you end the story. So just because you're going through a rough patch doesn't mean that that's the end of it, right? And I would take a step further. I say make a lemonade, take it to Goa and have fun there at the beach. Because, you know, that's what you make of. So, so keep going, guys. I think you're young and there's a lot in front of you. And if you could pick something from here, great. If you want to know more, you know, I'll leave you with my phone, with my email ID. Please reach out to me. We'll have a casual conversation. Whatever I can do to help, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. By the way, this make lemonade out of lemons comes after years. Right now, if you're thinking, Nimu milega, so I should know whose eyes I need to squeeze it, it's fine. It's absolutely okay. Because that's what probably will give you the grit and drive to do a lot. In fact, I don't know if you sort of, you know, picked something here. If you're going to be either in HR or you're going to become a leader, anyone who's going to be in HR here? And anyone who's deciding to be a leader? Come on. बाकी लोग क्या करने वाले? Biscuit खाने वाले. I really like that, Pranay. Okay.
It means HR is not leaders. So for HR there was only one hand and there were so many hands for leaders.
नहीं सर बाकी लोग तो और स्ट्रेस में डाल रहे हैं मुझे ना लीडर बनेंगे ना एचआर में जाएंगे so I'm wondering what they're going to do. So by the way, whether you're in HR or anywhere else, you will become a leader one day. You don't have an option. Even when you walk into your first day in, the second day, if you have to get in your junior into the company, you will have to become a leader. You don't have an option. So the only thing you remember is, as a leader, make a promise that you will create an ecosystem, like Gaurav said, which builds resilience. अगर आप हैं जो काउंटिंग के बाद भी खड़े हो सकते हैं तो ब्रिलियंट बट अगर आपके आसपास लोग हैं जो काउंटिंग के बाद खड़े नहीं हो पाएंगे प्लीज इंश्योर दैट काउंटिंग डजंट हैपन प्लीज इंश्योर यू एक्सटेंड दैट हैंड सो दैट्स ऑन यू यू हैव टू क्रिएट दैट इकोसिस्टम इफ यू वांट more stories of resilience around you. So as we hop on to, and Asim, now I'm going to come back to you, and I think now you know the game. So before I get there, I think, I don't know, when did you realize, did it happen to you? Please answer that question, then you take that mic. Then I am resilient. When did that happen? And maybe you can start your story from there.
Thanks, Sonal. First of all, great thanks to JK Business School, Dr. Mahapatra, Runa, for bringing me here. I was not very sure to spare my time on Saturday because the last week was very, very hectic. But now I'm really happy and to be here. And listening to all those stories has really made my day. So amazing, and thanks so much for giving me this opportunity. The question, the moment when I felt that I'm resilient, before that, I'll ask question to you students. You are there, and we all are here, some other panelists are there. What one thing, what one quality which makes you, which will make you from that place to this place? What is that quality? Pardon? More? More? Adaptability, right? So all these qualities, what you said, adaptability, I agree. See, anything which has to take into account the situations, changing situations around us. and the changing emotions around us, that quality will make the success sustainable. And that one quality is resilience. Daniel Goleman का नाम सुना है? Emotional quotient. He has said that IQ will take you, it's a threshold competency, but if you want your success to be sustainable and fulfilling, you want emotional competencies, and resilience is one of those competencies. Empathy is also there, definitely. So this is a very, very important competency, and resilience is the key quality of a leader. All leaders have got resilience. All leaders, no exception. So, and why this resilience quality, the quality of resilience becomes important? It is important in the face of change. Life is changing. Change is the ultimate truth. Everything is changing. And the quest of survival of the mankind, society, nations, individuals, industries, this is the story of resilience. We have seen all those stories. And all human beings, one point or other, we keep getting this glimpses of this quality in us. We need to only understand it. And this comes through self-awareness. Now, how did it come to me? I'll tell small story. Again, one question. Civil services की तैयारी किसने की है? या करना चाहता है? So I was also a civil aspirant once upon a time after completing my MBA. I did my MBA, I did job for 1 year. फिर civil services का कीड़ा मेरे को काटा कि यार civil services करनी है because I belong to UP, Northeast UP, you know that. Northeast UP Tripathi, you know, mostly they are from that. Civil services एक बार तो करना है, and I have to do something meaningful difference in the society. I have to make some meaningful change in the society. So I started preparing, left the job, came to Katwaria Sarai, you know, that place, Katwaria Sarai, Jia Sarai, Rajendra Nagar. इन्होंने एस्पिरेंट्स देखी होगी अगर वेब सीरीज. स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग, ज़्यादा लंबा नहीं बताऊंगा, 2 बार मेंस लिखा, फाइनली नहीं हुआ. और जब नहीं हुआ और तब मैंने आई डिडंट हैव अ प्लान बी. मैंने कहा अब तो प्राइवेट लाइफ में नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं सिविल सर्विसेज ही करूंगा, कुछ न कुछ तो निकाल लूंगा, बट नहीं करूंगा. नहीं हुआ. नाउ आई हैड टू कम बैक टू प्राइवेट जॉब, एंड माई मेजर वॉज मार्केटिंग, माइनर वॉज HR. बिकॉज मार्केटिंग में जॉब ज़्यादा होती है, तो मार्केटिंग मेजर ले लिया था. तो यू नो दैट वे. So I didn't know what to do in my life because I didn't have a plan B, and I didn't have that vision to do something in a private life. For 6 months I was shattered. I was in depression. Somehow with some help I got some job through reference. And HR, why HR? Then I pondered कि यार क्या करना है, क्या है, मार्केटिंग है, HR भी है. HR इसलिए लिया कि मैंने पब एड ले लिया था, पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, एंड दैट इज वेरी क्लोज टू HR. आई ऑल्सो साइकोलॉजी वॉज माई सेकंड सब्जेक्ट. PG तक की पढ़ाई करी थी, सब कुछ पढ़ लिया था. सिविल में तो सब पढ़ लेते हैं, यू नो दैट. एवरीथिंग अंडरस्टैंड यू रीड. So I thought कि यार HR लेंगे तो I get a chance to utilize my knowledge, and also the difference I want to create, I can create the difference here as well, because HR is a closer to people, and if you are able to change lives of people in the company itself, that again you are making some change. So that kind of purpose I made in my mind कि यार चलो HR में करते हैं. Luckily, because if you do hard work, some way or other you get the result as well. First designation I got manager. And then a very big company. I'll not take company's name. क्या मैनेजर का मतलब मैनेजर अभी नहीं बनूंगा, एग्जीक्यूटिव बनाओ यार. But I got manager and I started training there also. I started learning. Somehow I got very good mentors. My first boss, Mr. Ragish, he is currently in Jindal. I'm really indebted to him. He really trained me well. I grew very fast, and after that I didn't look back. And I changed industries from EPC, civil engineering EPC, to software, to media, to sugar and power EPC, now to marketing, communication, direct selling also. From 16 years, I'm working as a head of HR in many companies. I am head of HR of many I have been head of HR of many multinational companies, listed companies also. So I didn't think that I can reach to that level because I, spent many years in preparing of IAS. Now, luck, you can call it a luck or the, my perseverance. I couldn't clear IAS, but I taught IAS officers in Alabama. So I was in one of the leading civil engineering company, now again second story. And you know, real estate bust happened some 7-8 years back, 10 years back. And many real estate companies, they were facing trouble in sustaining their profits. And that directly affected EPC companies, contractors. So you can relate with that. So they didn't get money from billing, were not happening, money was not coming. Noida, Greater Noida ke projects were getting shut. And in that company, since I was group HR head, I was also facing challenge to cut cost, to suggest ways to cut costs. We started closing companies, subsidiaries of the companies, shedding of the manpower. We didn't have any option. We tried for some time. I was also demotivated at that time. Yeah, what to do? I didn't have any OD, HR learning to do. All work I was doing this to just cut cost. So I was anxious, and during that period I attended 2-3-4 days workshop called TL, Transformation Leadership. And that workshop, you know, inspired me, and that workshop talked about how to remain relevant in the face of change and how to not to be anxious when these tough changes are there around you. And how clarity about your vision, mission and purpose will help you in doing this. So I thought, yaar, abhi sikha hai, let's experiment in my own company. So I started an experiment, 3 months experiment with my MD's permission. Sir, everybody is demotivated. I am doing this experiment. We took 2 departments, and I started doing the workshop with them, that clarifying their purpose, how their purpose is linked with company's purpose, and how they should focus on their job rather than anxious about what's happening around them, which is not that easy. And that workshop went very well. Many of them, they started enrolling some courses. Many of them, their anxiety became less. They started picking up some hobbies. And after that, maybe after 1 year after that, I left the job. But that helped. All those employees are still in their company. They still thank me that it changed the course of my life. So that again, I think is feel that the resilience trait that kindled me, that got rekindled from this workshop. And I somehow tried to make that difference in the lives of at least those 15 people. And that company also bounced back. The company is doing very, very well. Its shares are booming very, very fast. And I'm still in touch with the MD and many people in the company, though I'm not in the company, but I'm very much close to the company, just like a family. So these 2 stories I'm just sharing because these traits of resilience are in all of us. All we need to do is to just make ourselves aware about us, our own qualities, our own traits. We should focus on the purpose in front of us. And I just got reminded of a book I read. Viktor Frankl ki book kisne padhi hai? Man's Search for Meaning. Anybody has read? Yes. So the quest of survival in the face of the toughest time in the Holocaust. He wrote a book. He visualized the book, and he wrote later on when he got released. And he has said that you can, if you are able to give meaning to your suffering, if you are able to give your meaning to your suffering, it will become sacrifice, not suffering. So we should give the meaning to ourselves. Everybody suffers. Some people suffer, they cry. And some people suffer, they just rise to the occasion. And he's also said that if you have got a how to live, if you have got a why to live, you can have any how to work for. So why to live is very, very important. And इस सबके बाद एक लाइन बोलूंगा, इसका आंसर आप देना. डर के आगे क्या है? डर के आगे दर्द है. दर्द के आगे जीत है. वो जो दर्द है वो रिजिलियंस है हमारा. उस दर्द से जब बाहर निकलते हैं तो हम रिजिलियंट होते हैं. ये दर्द को हम, जो दर्द है, इसमें विक्टर फ्रैंकल को भी बोलूंगा कि उस दर्द के पीछे मीनिंग को समझना है हमको. इस पे मैंने एक पोएम लिखी थी उसी फेज में. मुझे पोएम्स अपनी भूल जाती हैं तो मैं लिख लिया था. मैंने पढ़ लेता हूँ. ये मैंने लिखी है. तो नई सुबह की उम्मीद ही बनाता है हर रात को खास. नई सुबह की उम्मीद ही बनाता है हर रात को खास, जो हमें गहरे अंधेरे से लड़ने का दिलाता है विश्वास। तो जब भी हम किसी रात, अंधेरी रात से गुजर रहे हो, किसी टफ सिचुएशन से गुजर रहे हो, हमारी उम्मीद नहीं छूटनी चाहिए। जो उम्मीद है बैक ऑफ माइंड में वो छूटी, वो उम्मीद क्या है? वही उम्मीद रेजिलियंस है। इसी पर एक कवि ने कहा है, उस पार है उम्मीदों और उजास की एक पूरी दुनिया। उस पार है उम्मीदों और उजास की एक पूरी दुनिया। उजास मतलब उजाला, अंधेरा तो सिर्फ देहरी पर है। अंधेरा तो सिर्फ देहरी पे है। तो इसमें भी ये कहना, रेजिलियंस जो होता है, वी ऑल फेल डाउन, वी ऑल फॉल डाउन, बट the how many times we are getting back to our feet, that is important. It does. All resilient people, they also get depressed, they also feel bad, they also have got bouts of depression, but the traits of resilience in you, that will make you come back to your feet and start fighting again. And उसका हमने example morning में जनरल सांगवान को सुना था, and the stories of all leaders here is the testimony of resilience which has made them sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you, that was wonderful. मैं actually वो EQ की book बहुत time तक I think it is not something to do with anger. It is not wrong to be angry. It is important to be angry with the right person at the right time, at the right amount, and it just goes on. I mean, to me, that has defined my resilience with relationships, and I recommend आप book पढ़े नहीं पढ़े, वो Aristotle का saying ज़रूर पढ़ लेना. It's a very dense book, but I think that one piece has governed my. In fact, I think the reason that most of us keep going back to COVID is, I think वो generations and generations, in fact forever में एक पहली चीज़ थी which impacted every single human being on the planet. I mean wars हुई हैं, उसमें भी कुछ countries थी जो शायद impact नहीं हुई होंगी, एक बार हम ये मान सकते हैं. कुछ भी हुआ, even when you go to the forces, एक COVID ही है जिसने सब कुछ हुआ, and एक COVID के साथ दूसरी चीज़ होती है शादी. No, I didn't mean just marriages, because many of you may opt not to do it, but I think relationships also significantly need resilience. Every day, how to let that relationship be. See, because I remember, Amit saying that, at workplace, they're not families, they're teams. And the important thing there is, families में अगर कोई underperform करता है, तो आप उसको निकाल नहीं सकते ना. I mean, if the kids don't clear up after them, you can't send someone away. But yes, in a workplace, people promote, people leave, people come, people go. So yes, there are teams. You start operating like families, but there's that difference. However, the idea is, even there are relationships. There are relationships which need resilience. Every day of pushbacks have to again go back, and you have to work with the same person again. Any story that you would like to share, of course from yourself, and if there's any relationship-related resilience, I would prompt you if there is anything that you would. You want to use this?
So, thank you, JK Business School. Thank you, Runa, for inviting me. And I think, first of all, I would really thank the Institute to not talk about the career or anything, but picking up a topic, resilience. I think this is more of a life teaching, which is very, very important, which many of the institutes and schools actually miss these aspects of life. And these are very, very important aspects. And interesting journeys and stories which I have heard, I myself is getting inspired and getting goosebumps at how everyone has gone through that journey. My story, since I heard General Sangwan as well, I belong to a defense background. My father was in Air Force, but I never wanted to join forces. Why? Because when I learned, and I think that was since my childhood, there was some instinct that it was so much, I have seen the resilience part being in defense forces. I asked my dad as well that resilience only meant for forces, or is it also in the private life applicable in many sense? Otherwise, usually private life looks more easier. So then he said, no, it is applicable in every aspect of life, and he gave example of my grandparents and all that, how this whole 100 years back when this whole feminine happened, wherein he used to tell that we used to get food from US which pigs used to eat was imported, and that's how we all survived during that time. So it was a very, very tough time, right? And that's those stories he was putting in. So since beginning, I think my childhood, when I saw, I always kept on experimenting, changing schools, every 2 years new friend, forgetting the old friends, right? And then getting into new places. And that also, I think, built a lot of strength in me as an individual, which I felt. And when I started my schooling, and then I picked up, and like any general student, I was also very confused. But one thing I was very, very clear, fortunately, was that what I don't want to do. And that is what I think was very clear, that I don't want to get into forces. Though I tried and want to experience the SSB, so I went once for SSB, but then I flunked there, deliberately, I would say. I didn't want to join, hence. But then when I got more into the serious part of my education system, education years, is when I joined. I didn't get much. I got one government college, but I didn't like the place. So I moved into, from mechanical engineering to mining engineering. Then from mining engineering, job ही नहीं मिल रही थी. सारी mining engineer की jobs थी government में, Coal India हो गया, Hindustan Zinc हो गया. And I was not getting a job, so I hopped and got into safest option, MBA कर लो. So सदा बाहर है, किसी भी industry में घुस जाओ. Right, so then I got into HR. HR में भी पूछा कि why HR? Then I figured out what to do, and then I figured out, okay, HR mining में मैंने सीखा था how to extract the valuable minerals from the earth crust. So in HR also वही image था कि how to hire the right and the best person from the pool of people. Right, so that's how I मन को दिल को बहलाने बात करके philosophically I used to keep on moving. One thing which I realized in due course of time, and then that how these aspects are happening. Challenges were there, right? I was not clear, but where to go, what to do, what not to do. I very clearly realized that it is all state of mind. And that's when I started reading more about what resilience is. And when I realized it is more of emotional and psychological state of mind against any adversity, disappointment, crisis, which you go through in your life. And that is where makes you more stronger as an individual. So if that state of mind is there, you are very clear that no matter what comes, you fall, you grow. I mean, even in happiness, when you are growing, resilience is very, very important. It's not always in crisis. That, okay, kuch gadbad hua, to hame bahut wo karna hai, right? So you have to build that capacity. And that's where I have seen, when I joined the corporate world after my MBA, I was given a role of business, consulting role. I was not convinced at all. I have seen my father, and I understood in my mind that growth is, ठीक है, pilot officer से आप squadron leader बन रहे हैं, wing commander बन रहे हैं, group captain बन रहे हैं, commodore बन रहे हैं, air marshal बन रहे हैं. That's how the growth is there. HR में भी दिमाग में वही था, शायद पढ़ाया भी वही गया था. आप executive बनिए, senior executive, manager, general manager, VP, AVP, and CHRO ऐसे बन के, that's how the growth is. अब मुझे बिल्कुल new world में डाल दिया business analyst. मैं बोला which growth path is there? What is the define? It was completely new. Then consulting. Consultant, lifetime you have to be consultant. So I was somewhere denoting growth more from a designation perspective. And I was so much hesitant. But then again, my mentor was there. He pushed me, you go for it. You have great elements of both engineering and MBA, and it will help you to be in a better place. Trust me, I gave myself that capacity will. I didn't have a skill at that point of time. But I believe that will was there, that okay, let me try. And my strength to experiment helped me. I picked it up, and then I never looked back. The kind of growth which I have seen in myself was immense. Challenges, computers. I was a mining engineer, right? I used to even find within the laptop कि escape button कहाँ है वो दबाता था मैं. C++ कैसे पास किया पता नहीं, right? But somehow I got a placement. During placement, कहाँ क्या हुआ? Sorry, FA came. I flunked because I didn't want to go to Chennai. Then, in fact, TVS came. Again, I didn't want to go. I flunked in the interview because I don't want to go to Chennai. So, fortunately, I was waiting for Tata Motors to come where I did my project internship. But Tata Motors में क्या हुआ? आई नहीं. And then कॉलेज से प्रेशर आता कि भैया अब यही आखिरी कंपनी आ रही है, इसके बाद में कोई प्लेसमेंट नहीं होगा. So then by force I was pushed into one of the interviews, which was Xavier Technologies, and I got into tech company, IT company. Imagine mining engineer, then MBA, who was more fascinated about trade union was my favorite subject, and getting into IT, and that too also in consulting, and then consulting the global clients on the ERPs, HR technology systems. So very, very different awkward situations. But I think that since childhood, those elements which were built in place during this my whole journey has helped me to actually adapt in any adverse situation wherever I have been put in. So I think this is where I have looked into it, and then I moved from all the big corporations to a startup world where I got introduced to great leaders like Gaurav and some of other great leaders. So startups mein aaya, main startups mein when I joined, I joined from PwC to startup, and I never played a role of HR, and I was given a role of HR, heading in HR. So it was like, it was a startup 250 people company, so I even told CEO that you are giving me a role like dancing in front of 250 Madhuri Dixits. They all know better dance than me, and you are asking me to manage HR for HR because it was an HR company. But I picked up that role. So there again, the same thing came, wherein probably I was fortunate enough also that I got leaders who actually शायद वो देख लिया कि इसमें ये strength है, and they always used to pick me up that you have good exposure and understanding of the processes, systems, global exposure, you can manage that. और कई बार होता है चिराग तले अंधेरा होता है, तो बोला हमारा HR ही खराब है और हम HR दुनिया को सिखा रहे हैं. So I picked that up. It was very, very tough for me because lot of resistance came. I was typically operating like a consultant. So मैं बना देता था design, but how it is happening वो पता नहीं होता था ground में. So bad on operations. I failed every time. But then gradually I learned, अच्छा ये होता है तो मुझे सब नहीं आना चाहिए. Hire smarter people than you. In your teams, your life is sorted. And that's how I started hiring people who are much stronger on operations. Right? So these were all learnings which we started getting into. Then I realized in life, gradually, is I think the biggest element of being resilient and being successful in any situation, wherever you are. अगर आपको जैसलमेर या वहाँ बाड़मेर के जो रेगिस्तान में भी छोड़ दें, how you'll survive, is I think if you handle and build the capacity, how to manage and operate in ambiguity and have a high patience. I think these two are very important elements of being resilient. If you have these two elements in yourself as a person, irrespective of what you said about Sonal, the relationships, again I am married, so I know how things happen. So you have to, बहुत बार बोलते हैं you have to have a thick skin, but वो सत्य है. आपको कितनी बार you have to build that capacity to absorb, and how you'll build it only if you have that capacity of having high patience, right? तो चाहे कुछ भी बोलते रहे, आज खराब है, ये होगा. I got lot of threatening statements. आपका ये करियर होता, मुझे पता होता आप इस कंसल्टिंग जॉब में हो तो मैं कभी शादी नहीं करती. I would have married to somebody else, right? So all those things happens, but I think you have to figure out a way. And I think resilience का बिल्कुल आपका जुड़ा हुआ शब्द है agility. So be water, be fluid. I think आप अगर अपने आप को छोड़ देंगे, पानी अपना रास्ता स्वयं बना लेता है, उसको बहुत तकलीफ नहीं होती है कुछ करने में. So don't hold things for yourself that नहीं यहाँ मुझे करना है, ऐसे करना है. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है मैं HR नहीं करना चाहता था, but आज मैं HR में हूँ. और जब मैं HR करना चाहता था तब मुझे HR नहीं मिला. Right? So this is how you have to be flexible and agile. I think that will serve and solve your life and purpose, whatever you want to do.
Thank you again. In fact, मुझे पानी से याद आया, in one of the sessions and learnings we did, हो सकता है you're not the water kinds. मतलब हर एक इंसान navigator नहीं होता है जो solution से navigate करके निकल जाए. There are two more kinds of people. There are people who are also survivors. They become the walnut shell around the things that they want to protect. It's okay. If you are someone who actually picks up that sword and starts the fight and you are the fighter, that's also okay. आपका resilience का technique क्या है वो आपका है. पर ये identify करना कि हाँ अब मुझे मेरे पास actually in my belief, and I am still only 14 years married, I'm sure there are people who are longer, and more importantly, the people who are doing something for a very long time. I think the only one thought in my belief that works there is when you realize there is no other option. The moment you tell yourself, there is no other option, I have to make this work, I think everything happens. Then everything starts working. The relationship will work, the company will work, the decision will work. And yes, in that long-term purpose, vision, somewhere down the line, ये भी पता चलना चाहिए जिस चीज़ को मुझे छोड़ना है. You can't keep, taking those things. And I'm sure those kinds of stories of resilience also rest with a lot of organizations. I'll probably have one. But let me just walk to you and ask you, Rahul, what has been your experience? What's been your story? What happened at TAFE if you also want to share that?
Sure. Thanks a lot. And, sessions which is before, lunch and after lunch, they are very dangerous, sessions. And कभी भी लोगों के और खाने के बीच में नहीं आना चाहिए. So I'll keep it short and interesting as well. So my name is Rahul, and I can say that नाम तो सुना होगा. And मेरी स्टोरी जो है, जैसा कि फिल्मों में होता है कि बड़े बड़े देशों में छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं, तो मेरी भी स्टोरी जो है वो दुनिया के बड़े बड़े देशों में जो छोटी छोटी जगह होती है वहाँ से स्टार्ट होती है, वहाँ से शुरू होती है, वहाँ से निकलती है. So I belong to a small town or a place, and then जहाँ से मेरी लाइफ शुरू हुई, father was in a transferable job, so there was always a change of place after 2 years, 3 years kind of a time. So जब मैं काउंट करना शुरू करता हूँ तो पता चलता है मैं राइट नाउ आई एम लिविंग एट अलवर. मुझे पता चलता है मैं आई एम लिविंग एट 18th city in my lifespan so far. So being adaptable, going to new places, adapting to the culture, the people has been part of my story. So as I started, my life journey, उतना exposure नहीं था, उतना पता नहीं था. Till the time, जब तक हाई स्कूल में पहुंचे, तब तक ये था कि कैरियर में शायद है ना 4, 5, 6 ऑप्शन ही होते हैं. या तो आप इंजीनियर बन सकते हैं, बिकॉज माय फादर इंजीनियर थे, या आप मेडिकल फील्ड में जा सकते हैं, या आप चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बन सकते हैं, या डिफेंस सर्विसेज में आप जा सकते हैं. तो इंटरेस्ट जो था वो डिफेंस सर्विसेज के लिए था. एंड ट्रस्ट मी, वो एटीट्यूड और एक अप्रोच भी जो थी वो उस तरह से ही थी शुरू से. So then I kept on trying till the time I am eligible, I can get into defense services. That was the first career interest. But at the same time, plan B, plan C were also there. आपके काफी फ्रेंड्स होते हैं, फैमिली मेंबर्स होते हैं, वो इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहे होते हैं आपको कि आप ये कर सकते हैं, ये करना चाहिए. So one such option was, of course, preparing for competitive exams. Another was like going for MBA in HR. HR was very natural choice for me because of the way I was always understanding people, or I have been understanding people. That was a very natural choice for me. There was a very different aspect also which was there with me. Is I'm a very creative person. So I used to draw lot many cartoons. And I was drawing cartoons around work lives and the life and situations which are there with my friends. And it so happened during the school days, I was drawing cartoons, and then I was putting comments and then giving it to them. So during the school days, I thought, let me also try my hands with comics. So let me make a few comics. So comics भी बनाया. So काफी लोगों का उस समय एक डायरेक्शन था, इनपुट था कि यार तुम्हें क्रिएटिव फील्ड में होना चाहिए. लेकिन ये था कि किसी ने कभी कुछ गाइड उस तरह से नहीं किया कि यार क्रिएटिव फील्ड में जाना कैसे है, करना क्या है. यदि क्रिएटिव फील्ड में इंटरेस्ट है तो कौन से कोर्सेज हैं जो आपको पिक करना चाहिए. सो काफ़ी चीज़ें लाइफ में जो हैं वो फिगर आउट करते रहे, आगे बढ़ते रहे. एंड रेजिलियंस जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं, दिस इज फॉर मी इज लाइक बीइंग एडेप्टेबल. सो whatever the situation is, whatever you think that okay, this is the best option for me, this is where my interest lies, just pick it up. And काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि हमें पता नहीं होता कि हम कैसे करेंगे हम यहाँ पर. सो इन दो सिचुएशंस जस्ट से यस, एंड बाद में आप फिगर आउट कर सकते हैं, पता कर सकते हैं कि कैसे करना है. एंड लाइफ में कई सिचुएशन, कई चीजें ऐसी आई जहाँ पर बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि वाई, क्यों. वेयर एज शायद मेरी जो अप्रोच रही वो हमेशा से इस तरह से रही कि वाई नॉट. एंड दैट इज द रीजन. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एक लाइफ है ना कम है काफी कुछ काम करने के लिए. सो एचआर में जॉब करने के साथ में नाउ आई एम अ सर्टिफाइड कोच ऑल्सो. नाउ आई एम अ author as well. My latest interest is YouTubing, so that's another interest. Another interest is social media, so I'm counted as one of the social media influencer. So multiple things, I've been trying my hand, and so right. So coming to this stories of resilience, and I'll pick up two work like examples. One is of course related to COVID, because COVID की जो भी stories हैं सभी ने experience किए, सभी ने COVID का scenario experience किया. So March 2020 जब life और COVID के बीच में 2020 मैच चल रहा था, उस समय बहुत सारी कंपनीज थी, बहुत सारे एम्प्लॉयज थे, बहुत सारे लोग थे जो अपने घरों पे थे, वर्क फ्रॉम होम कर रहे थे. कंपनीज ऐसी भी थी जहां पर एक इस अरेंजमेंट में लगे हुए थे कि हम कैसे एम्प्लॉयज को हम वर्क फ्रॉम होम हम ऑप्शन दे सकते हैं. वेयर एज माई एक्सपीरियंस वॉज एंटायरली अपोजिट और अ डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस. सो आई वॉज पार्ट ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन which falls under services category. So if you are part of essential services, you need to be there on the ground, you need to run the show. And I still remember the first lockdown, and it was like 1 or 2 days only, जब काफी लोगों के लिए था कि अच्छा लॉकडाउन है, अब हमें घर पर रहना है और घर से काम करना है और फिगर आउट करना है कि करना क्या है. और at the same time there was lots of uncertainty, fear of unknown, those were there. So that point of time, I was part of the packaging industry, and without packaging, world doesn't move. So with the CEO, I was in a discussion कि हमें हमारा plant दोबारा से restart कैसे करना है. Supposed to work because we are part of essential industry, essential commodity, essential product, and you need to be there. So it was a pretty interesting time. So first lockdown, when it got started, within 7 days, we were running the plants. We were ensuring that people are there. We were convincing people to come out of home, and ensuring at the workplace कि you're safe. And then of course it was a tough time. Transportation के issues हैं. बहुत सारी सोसाइटीज में ऐसा था कि लोगों ने अपने मेन गेट्स जो हैं लॉक कर रखे थे. आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर सोसाइटी से कॉल आते थे पूछने के लिए कि आप कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रहे हैं, कौन सी कंपनी में काम कर रहे हैं जो कोविड के समय में काम कर रही है. तो उनको एक्सप्लेन करना, बताना कि हम किस इंडस्ट्री में हैं, हमें काम करना क्यों जरूरी है. तो कई बार आपका एम्प्लॉयज जब ऑफिस की तरफ आ रहे होते थे तो उनको जो पुलिस है वो कहीं स्टॉप कर रही है, कहीं कुछ है, आपको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबर भी आपको चाहिए, उस तरह के लोग भी आपको चाहिए इंडस्ट्री में, कंपनी में, उस तरह के भी लोग आ रहे हैं. वो करना कि आपके पास रिक्वायर्ड मैन पावर है और वो एक सिनेरियो में काम कर रहा है जब आपका फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन लगा है, सेकंड लगेगा नहीं लगेगा, क्या होगा, जो लोग ऑफिस आएंगे क्या सिर्फ उनको ही पेमेंट मिलने वाला है, जो नहीं क्या होगा. सो देयर वर वेरियस थिंग्स जो कि कंफ्यूजन की स्टेज थी. एंड मोर ओवर being there with the employees, that was the most important aspect. So being available to all the employees, just a phone call away, and हर एक के साथ में कुछ ना कुछ डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन थी. कोई आउट ऑफ टाउन था, वापस आना है, कैसे पासेस अरेंज होंगे, कैसे अथॉरिटीज उनको परमिशन देंगे, या किसी के फैमिली में कोई कोविड इम्पैक्टेड है, सो वो कैसे वर्क प्लेस पे आ सकता है या नहीं आ सकता है, कैसे आएगा. So there were various things which we were supporting employees. So that was one situation where we were working at the site, no work from home, and then we were running the show. So that's one situation, COVID situation, where we were adaptable to the need of the organization. कि हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने यदि रन करना है और इस तरह से ऑपरेट करना है तो हम कैसे इसको मैनेज करेंगे. वी नीड टू फाइंड आउट सोल्यूशन. सो इट्स ऑलवेज अबाउट फाइंडिंग सोल्यूशन. दैट्स बीइंग adaptable only. If you find out solution, you are adaptable. I'll narrate one more story, which is I'm taking you to a flashback, which is July 2005. So heavy rains, Mumbai में काफ़ी flood-like scenario हुआ था. I was in Gujarat that point of time, and again a manufacturing setup. हमारे plant के पीछे एक canal, water canal थी. Because it was a flood-like situation, ऐसा हुआ कि वो canal जो है break हुई, और उसके बाद हमारा जो plant है उसके अंदर में it's like a flood water which is there. So typically plants are designed in a manner that there is a auto shut off, cut down, and then we evacuated employees from the plant. So employees को तो evacuate कर लिया. वापस हमारा जो plant था वो outside city location था. So employees को evacuate कर लिया. उसके बाद ये situation थी कि plant में कुछ एक services होती हैं जिनको हम utility services कहते हैं. They still run. So how to ensure कि आपके प्लांट में वो यूटिलिटी सर्विसेज चल रही हैं और आपके कुछ एक एम्प्लॉयज हैं जो कि इस फ्लड लाइक सिचुएशन में भी ऑफिस में हैं. सो दैट वाज द सिचुएशन. सो वी फॉर्म्ड अ टीम एंड आई वाज पार्ट ऑफ द टीम फ्रॉम द एचआर साइड. सो विच मीन्स हम उस पूरी टीम को लेकर के वापस प्लांट में हम पहुंचे. और इस बार जो हमारी जर्नी थी वो टिपिकली जो हमारी ट्रांसपोर्ट बसेस होती थी उससे नहीं थी. हम लोग ट्रैक्टर में बैठ करके प्लांट में पहुंचे. उस फ्लड लाइक सिचुएशन में हमने ट्रैवल करके प्लांट में जो है इंश्योर किया कि हमारा प्लांट जो है वो रनिंग है. और इस तरह के सिचुएशन में आप एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं कि अच्छा आपका फैक्ट्री में कैंटीन भी रन हो रहा है और आपके पास में बाकी सारी फैसिलिटीज भी हैं, बट एट द सेम टाइम एम्प्लॉयज आर देयर. सो यू स्टिल नीड टू रन द शो, मैनेज द शो. तो पिकिंग अप फ्रॉम नियर बाय विलेजेस, हम कहाँ से क्या चीज़ अरेंज कर सकते हैं. आप जैसे हम रेजिलियंस की बात कर रहे हैं उसमें रिसोर्सफुलनेस का एक एलिमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. तो आप कैसे रिसोर्सेज को यूटिलाइज करते हैं. एक आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर जब डे 1 हम इस सिचुएशन में थे. प्लांट के अंदर ऑफकोर्स ग्राउंड फ्लोर में हमारे पानी है, फर्स्ट फ्लोर के जो ऑफिसेज हैं, सो इंक्लूडिंग माई सेल्फ, जो हमारी पूरी टीम थी, हम लोग जो हमारे बोर्ड रूम या मीटिंग रूम होते हैं उसके फ्लोर पे हम सो रहे थे. सो इस तरह की भी सिचुएशन लाइफ में एक्सपीरियंस करने के बाद आपको बाद में कोई सिचुएशन टफ नहीं लगती. आपको लगता है ओके ब्रिंग इट ऑन, और आप सिचुएशन लेके आओ, टफ सिचुएशन लेके आओ, वी कैन हैंडल इट. सो देयर आर some real life tough situation which definitely adds on to your resilience. And so all such kind of a situation becomes of course the stories now. and it's a very good, event which is organized, HR Conclave, which is organized, which is giving a very free hand to all of us to narrate our story. So before I conclude, मैं काफ़ी अच्छी यहाँ कविताएं हमने अभी सुनी. तो ऑफ कोर्स मैं कविताएं नहीं लिखता हूँ, मैं कार्टून्स बनाता हूँ और बुक लिखता हूँ. मैं एक रॉबर्ट फ्रॉस्ट एक अमेरिकन पोएट हैं, उनकी जो कविता है वुड्स आर लोनली, आई एम श्योर आप लोगों ने काफ़ी लोगों ने सुनी होगी. यदि किसी ने आप लोगों में से हिंदी का ट्रांसलेशन आपने यदि सुना हो तो मैं वो आपसे शेयर करना चाहूँगा बिफोर आई कंक्लूड. तो रॉबर्ट फ्रॉस्ट की जो पोयम है उसका हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन हरिवंश राय बच्चन जी ने किया है. वो शायद मेरे लाइफ की फिलॉसफी भी उस तरह से बन गई है. ये कविता हिंदी में मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. गहन सघन मनमोहन तरुवन मुझको आज बुलाते हैं, किंतु किए जो वादे मैंने आज मुझे वो याद आते हैं. अभी कहाँ आराम बदा यह मूक निमंत्रण छलना है, अरे अभी तो मीलों मुझको चलना है. थैंक यू.
Thank you. That was wonderful, Rahul. I think मेरी कहानी किसी और दिन. The signal is that we need to wrap up. Thank you so much. Those wonderful stories. Would you allow questions, or should also that happen later?
I think that can be kept for the later part of the discussion.
No, it's all in LinkedIn. Don't worry, everything's fine.
No, okay, ma'am. We'd like to hear a couple of words from your side also.
मेरी अधूरी
Yes, ma'am.
No, trust me, I've had one of the easiest lives possible. Wonderful parents, an amazing brother. Bhagwan ne thoda dimag bhi de diya, so I could. I usually was. I think I've never failed my parents ever. So I think my story of resilience is only that when I actually discovered failure for the first time, and I think so. I've had a life where I've been class toppers. It came very naturally. Class toppers, head girl, house girl. Got into SRCC for commerce, got into MBA. It just, for me, it was a pattern. I realized that, I think it was, to me, it went, शायद यही होता है, यही जिंदगी है. But I think when I first got it, for me, when I got into my last but one, like where I am just before that, my workplace, and one story that I want to share from there, and this is for one of those questions also which was asked. So I've been working in a private equity format, which means where people invest money behind a brand because the brand has a lot of potential to grow. So the last brand that I was anchoring as a head of HR was Modern Breads. It's the oldest bread that India has ever had. It was a government company, changed hands, went to HUL, and then last Everstone Capital was running it before we sold it off. So as a part of the leadership team, we all decided that for a better valuation, we needed to have an FMCG arm. Valuation matlab company bikegi, paisa aayega. So we should have an FMCG arm. Otherwise, bread is a daily distribution. Aap roz banate ho, 5 din mein bread khatam honi hoti hai, so it doesn't survive long. So we thought we should have some product which should at least last 3 months, 6 months, will probably give us better profits, valuation. We did that. We decided as a leadership team to bring up a team of 150 people. I think one of the toughest calls was that we couldn't keep that business afloat. 2 years we had to shut it down. And to the question, what happens when people don't perform and you let them go? As a leader, the toughest thing is when you didn't perform and you had to let people go. Your business didn't run, you failed them, and you still had to let them go. I think to me, the resilience was to still step up and go to work every day, talk to those people, and the thing on your shoulder is that you cannot still let anybody in the media malign your brand because the company still has to run. There are still mouths to feed. It was about a 800 people company. Other than that business, we couldn't have had that risk. The entire thing was getting up every day, being honest with them, talking them through, helping them out, and sort of helping them off to another career. The question is, sometimes companies don't let go of people because they didn't perform. It's not a people issue. It's a business call, and trust me, every exit that happens in business, because I know that's a fear all of you carry, does not happen because of you. it happens because of business. It either will happen because somebody in the company couldn't help you adjust into the company. It could be because somebody didn't fit you in the right role. Or it could be just that the business cannot afford you anymore. It is never you. And I can just tell you as a leader, everyday resilience is to just go back and face that reality every day. And I just wanted to share this because I know this is so basic, so banal, no new story here. But this is the crux of every day. And there's one more thing that I'm told now that I should share, and only because I'm a female and I sit on the board and I'm a senior leader so people tell me that I should tell this story. To all of you, if you think that your grind is over, no, the grind is forever. I could just tell you my schedule every day. I wake up at 5:15 every day. I get my son ready. I drop him for his coaching. I come back at 6:30. I run for half an hour. I come back, I cook food. I cook food because I like my kids to have what I cook. I cook. I exercise another half an hour for flexibility and strength. Then I get to my workplace. I drive on my own. I don't have a driver. I come back home by about 7:38. I spend half an hour with my kid because my son has to sleep early. He wakes up early. Then I sit with my daughter. She's 7. My son is 10 and my daughter is 7. So my daughter sleeps by 9. I have one last 1 hour, which I either give to NHRD or to CII or to FICCI or to my reading. Every 2 weeks I finish a book, and these are not management books. I'm a lover of stories. I read fiction. I read history. I read stories. I love stories. It is doable. And you know what is my biggest resilience? Every day in the morning when that alarm rings at 5:15, I don't snooze it. That's my resilience. So that's the only story I'll leave you with. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
That was
And
quite
you wanted us to leave without that story. Come on.
That was an enlightening session. Thank you, everyone. Now I would like to request our PG Chair, Dr. Renu Verma, to kindly present the memento to Mr. Gaurav Sabharwal. Now I would request Professor Ajay Mehta to kindly present the memento to Mr. Rahul Jain. Thank you, sir. I would request Professor Jyoti to kindly present the memento to Mr. Rajesh Kumar Tripathi. Thank you, ma'am. I would request Professor Tyagi to kindly present the memento to Mr. Atul Tiwari. Thank you, sir. I would request Professor Sonal Dahiya to kindly present the memento to Mr. Amit Mishra. I would request Professor Rajiv Ranjan to kindly present the memento to Mr. Aseem Nath Tripathi. Now I would request our Dean, Professor Richa Dahiya, to kindly present the memento to our moderator, Sonal Kapoor Sinha. Let's give a huge round of applause to our esteemed panelists. On behalf of our school, we invite you to proceed for lunch to the reception lobby in the ground floor. And I request the fellow students to stay back. And I also request the student volunteers to kindly facilitate the esteemed guest for lunch. Thank you. I request other students to kindly stay back. And the student volunteers to facilitate the guests.